Hello, this is Storybooks channel. New videos are posted every day. Subscribe and click the bell.
Samuel was about to go home when the phone rang. "Hey, workaholic. Hey, buddy." Samuel answered, hearing the mocking voice of Harry, his old buddy. "The work week is over, so I suggest we go to a nightclub tonight because we haven't seen each other in a while. We could chat, look at some pretty girls. I don't know." "In doubt," answered the man. "I had plans with my wife. You know I don't like going to nightclubs. I'm fine at home with my wife." "Oh, come on. Monica is your woman, a woman with understanding. She knows that a man sometimes needs to relax, especially," he paused, intriguing his friend. "I've got a card for a private, all-male club." "Well, agree. Let's remember our youth. Why are you hiding behind your wife like an old grandfather?" "All right," Samuel gave in. "I'll talk to her now. If she doesn't mind, let's go. I'm waiting for your call." Harry got excited. "It's no fun to go alone. I promise it'll be fun." Samuel shut down the computer, cleared the papers off the desk, and locked them in the safe. He liked things to be in order. The plastic surgery clinic that he and his wife had opened 2 years ago was already famous far beyond the borders of their hometown for the clear, well-coordinated work of the management and medical staff. Samuel closed the office and looked in on his wife. "Darling, are you ready?" The blonde, pretty woman looked up at him. There was adoration in her gaze. "Yes, Samuel, just a minute. I'll wait for you in the car." He paused, admiring his wife. They had been together for 10 years, and Monica, in her early 30s, still had her girlish freshness. It seemed to Samuel that over the years she was only getting more beautiful, like a flower bud that slowly blooms in the sun, making him marvel at every petal that opens. If it keeps going like this. Sitting down after a while, next to her husband in the car, Monica said, "You and I will have to spend the night at work." "Why is that?" "I can't even believe that in such a short period of time we've made a steady income." "We dreamed of it." Kissing his wife, Samuel remarked, "And everything worked out. We can afford any whim." "But why do we need so much money?" Monica got sad. "We even recently do not go anywhere, just work and work. We used to dream of traveling the world. Remember, in the last year of school you promised that we would hang a map on the wall in our house, and we would mark the places we had been to." "Well, the map is hanging, but we haven't gotten any more flags. We will still have time to travel. We have our whole life ahead of us. We can't give up and stop the process. People depend on us. Remember what we had to go through to earn a reputation among our colleagues. Have you seen how many positive reviews we have on our website? And there will be even more. We don't just do plastic surgery. We save some patients from doing crazy things. Remember, a woman wanted to commit suicide because of the scars on her face after a car accident that killed her entire family. Or recently, a woman came in asking to have her nose reshaped. She couldn't get married. And now she sends you congratulations every holiday. And we have many such stories. We bring joy to people. Don't you think that's worth living and working for? Yeah, live and work to save other people's lives. But who's gonna save mine? I can't give you a child. There's nothing I can do about it. They say good things come back. But somehow that didn't work for me. Don't start." Taking his wife by the hand, the man said conciliatingly, "You are beautiful, successful, but it happens in life that people cannot have children. Are we medics not to know about it? If it hadn't been for that damned operation when we were kids, things might have turned out differently." The woman had tears in her eyes. "Why am I so unhappy?" "Stop thinking about her." Samuel took his wife by the shoulders, gently turned her toward him, and looked into her dark blue eyes. Thinking to himself, Our daughter could have exactly the same extraordinary color eyes. Still, nothing can be changed. We have each other. I love you. You love me after all. You can always take a child from an orphanage or pay for the services of a surrogate mother. There are so many options today. We haven't used any of them. Yes, you're right. Monica nodded, agreeing with her husband's arguments, but there was sadness and a sense of loss in her gaze. I'm sorry, I'm just tired from the week. There are so many clients, and it takes a lot of nerves to talk to all of them and calm them down. It's a good thing we have a team of real masters of their craft. We couldn't have done it alone, and that's entirely your merit. Darling, Samuel decided to change the subject. I got a call from Harry inviting me to a private men's club tonight. He got a business card somewhere. The man laughed. I want to keep him company. You and I spend all our time together, at home, at work, and have fun together. Let's take a little break from each other, shall we? I'll go with Harry. You go out with your girlfriends. I'm sure we'll have something to talk about. How would you like that? It's a wonderful suggestion. Wiping away her tears, Monica smiled. It's true, I haven't seen the girls for a long time with this job, and you and I don't know how to relax. Even at home we manage to discuss work issues. You're right, we should take a little break from each other. That's great. Samuel was happy, and starting the engine said, Then now I'll go home, change my clothes, and go to the club. Changing a strict business suit, a shirt and jeans, Samuel felt free and happy. I didn't expect this, he said, buttoning the sleeves of his shirt and putting on a light-colored jacket. That clothes could have such an effect on your mood. Not clothes. The woman laughed, carefully adjusting his collar. The anticipation of seeing a friend. By the way, what is he doing now? I don't know exactly, but last time he said he got a job in some private clinic, still looking for himself and still single. You look very attractive in loose clothes, funny, even younger. Make sure you don't swap me for some pretty girl without a second glance. You had nothing to worry about. Kissing Monica, Samuel assured her. I don't need anyone but you. Any pretty girl would look pale next to you. You're a beauty. He brought the woman to his bosom, saying goodbye. That's it, I'm off. Be a good girl, don't spare any money. Have a great vacation with your girlfriends. 3 hours later, Samuel drove up to the building Harry had indicated. He met him at the entrance. What took you so long? His friend rebuked him, extending his hand. The handshake was firm. Harry was tall, handsome, and had been a ladies' man in college. He still was. He took women lightly, didn't burden himself with serious relationships. The searing look of his brown eyes attracted his admirers. They flew to him like butterflies to the light and burned their wings in the same way. Harry is a convinced bachelor. The best seats are already taken, of course. He said sadly, Let's see what's left, and hopefully we'll get better girls. What girls? Samuel asked. I'm not going to meet any girls. Believe me, you'll lose a lot if you don't. It's the best men's club in town, and they have such waitresses. He clucked his tongue promisingly. You're gonna rock. From the outside, the room did not give away that it was a nightclub. The broad-shouldered guard at the entrance, in a classic black jacket, with the unruffled face of a bare-knuckle fighter, looked at them suspiciously, about to ask them to pass, but when he saw Harry's business card, he smiled broadly and took a step back from the door, giving permission to enter. The friends made their way down the stone steps of the staircase below. Good evening. A beautiful woman, about 40 years old, a little overweight, dressed in a luxurious black dress with sequins, greeted them languidly. Her breasts were adorned with an expensive diamond necklace, and earrings glittered in her ears. "I am Barbara, the hostess of the establishment." She held out a plump hand in a lace glove to each of the men in turn. They leaned toward her in a welcoming bow, kissing her thick, sausage-like fingers. "Is this your first time with us?" She turned to Samuel, appraising him from head to toe. He nodded in agreement. "Come in, have a seat." She pointed to the private tables, with soft, cozy chairs that were scattered in the semi-darkness of the room. The huge bar was sparkling with lights. The bartender was mixing a cocktail behind the bar, playing with a shaker, deftly pouring the contents into glasses. Waitresses, beautiful young girls, in clothes that hid almost nothing, were scurrying between the booths. "Where are we?" Samuel shouted in his buddy's ear. "It's all a little too open here. To be honest, I didn't expect it." "My friend," Harry laughed, "are you embarrassed by beautiful half-naked girls? You and I are not old, and they should arouse passion and desire in you, not fear. I hope you don't have any male problems." "No problems, but I love my wife." The man was indignant. "Why do I need half-naked girls?" "Only you are not forced to marry them, and if you like some chick, you can use their services. I won't tell Monica about your little pranks." Harry winked at his friend. "Admire a woman's beauty. It relieves fatigue, but let's order," he suggested, waving to someone. A waitress approached them. The mound of red hair was decorated with a tiara. Thin black leather straps barely covered her breasts, smoothly passing to the waistband of a short, very short, bright red skirt. Long, shapely legs in black lace stockings and high-heeled shoes completed the portrait. Harry quickly dictated something to her. She wrote it down carefully and walked away, wiggling her hips invitingly. "This isn't the first time you've been here, is it?" Samuel asked suspiciously, looking at his friend. "Who's forbidding me? I'm single. I have not met a woman like your Monica. You are the one who is lucky in life, a beautiful wife, a great surgeon, and now you have your own business. If I had all that, I'd probably stay home too. No one forbade you to study hard at the Institute." The man snapped at me. "You could have achieved a lot. My wife and I worked like hell, and you spent all your free time in bars and restaurants. Is it possible to find a worthy life partner there? They're workaholics." Again laughed Buddy. "I'm jealous in a good way. Don't take offense. Enjoy the evening. Everything is good. Here is our order." He woke up when he saw a pretty girl with a tray in her hands. "How appetizing you are," he sang, devouring with his eyes the chiseled figure of the waitress. Long, black, luxurious hair freely did not fall on her shoulders, and large brown eyes warily watched the man who sat dangerously close to her. She deftly served the order and disappeared. "I like her." Decisively rising from his seat, Harry said, heading toward Barbara. "I want to order her for myself before someone else takes her." "Harry, where are you going?" "Maybe we shouldn't rush. The evening's just beginning." His friend tried to talk him out of it, but the man wouldn't listen. "Barbara," Harry addressed the hostess, "I want that girl for tonight." "No, you don't," the woman objected softly. "She's only been here a week." "I don't want to frighten her. I'm teaching her everything, but she doesn't know the details yet." "Let her get used to it a little." "So what's the problem?" "I'll teach her. I know how to do it. You know me." He winked at Barbara. "I'll pay you well." "Okay," smiling, the woman agreed. "I'll do it your way, but no funny business. I don't want to have to deal with her relatives later." They looked at each other understandingly, and the hostess left the room. "Let's have a drink, shall we?" Smiling, Harry returned to his seat and raised his glass, urging Samuel to do the same. "I don't understand you. You've been Monica for 10 years. Don't you get tired of each other? Look how many beautiful women there are around, and you don't like any of them." "I don't believe it." "How can Monica get bored?" "Question to question," Samuel answered. "We have the same interests. We think alike, and our feelings have grown stronger over the years. We're not just lovers anymore, we're partners. We love our work, we give our whole soul to it. That's why we have good reviews about our clinic. I envy you," Harry said thoughtfully. They were able to carry love and friendship through the years. Now it is rare to meet such couples. Share your experience. What is the secret of your strong family life? "There is no secret," Samuel smiled. "Over the years, the extravagant passion has passed, and feelings have turned into a stable and reliable relationship. We tremblingly and tenderly take care of each other, from good. Good is not sought, you know. My wife and I have overcome all difficulties together. We understand each other with half a word. We are never bored together. In case you didn't know, that's what love is. And you still haven't had children." "No, we can't have children." "That's a pity. You would have been beautiful. I've always dreamed of being related to you through children. Unfortunately, it's impossible. Why don't you want to seek professional help?" "Monica is not ready," Samuel said sadly, "and the work takes up too much time." "Well, don't you dare say the word work tonight. We are relaxing, enjoying life and looking at naked girls. Friends have a drink, relax a little. Pleasant music, dimmed lights." Samuel liked the atmosphere. He already felt the inner tension, which had not left him lately, gradually receded. Suddenly the audience in the hall became lively. The friends, as if on command, turned their heads towards the stage. There, among the bright flashes of light, appeared girls dancers, performing a belly dance. Slender, plastic, they easily moved to the sounds of the oriental melody. The girls masterfully possessed their bodies, delighting the audience. They were moving swiftly on the stage, then paused, giving the audience to enjoy themselves. Then suddenly every cell of the body began to vibrate, from the tips of the fingers on the hands to the delicate pink handkerchief, making the surrounding men whistled in admiration, shouting various obscenities, watching what was happening on stage. "What do you think?" asked Harry. "It's great. It's marvelous. I've never seen anything like it." "And you hesitated whether to go or not. You don't see so many beautiful women anywhere. We've got women just as beautiful under the scalpel. Don't compare. It's natural beauty, and yours is artificial. You can't understand the sense of satisfaction I feel when a woman is satisfied with the operation. And what happens, and someone is not satisfied? Unfortunately, in any job, there are failures. There was a case when a woman with tears asked to return the volume of her breasts. Another did not like the shape of her nose. People are different, so no one is immune to scandal, but still, there are more positive comments. "Oh my God," Harry laughed. "We're back on the subject of work. I suggest we play a game of billiards. How do you feel about it? I haven't held a cue in my hands for a long time." Samuel was cautious. "I'm afraid I'll be an uninteresting partner for you. Nothing you'll remember. It's like riding a bicycle. Once you learn once, you'll never forget. Come on, billiards is a game for real men. I remember you were pretty good at the top screw. I'll give you a head start." At first they lazily pushed the cue, driving balls into the hole one by one. Then Samuel got into the taste. In his eyes there was a gambling light. "Let's play for a bottle of cognac," he suggested. "I'll make you like a juvenile," Harry said condescendingly. "We'll see," Samuel answered evasively. If you remember, I was the best at rolling balls in my class. I don't mind. My friend laughed. But that was 10 years ago, and I'm practicing regularly. However, you suggested it yourself. Prepare money if you have extra. But be kind enough to buy the most expensive cognac, not some cheap stuff. Don't be fooled. Getting into a rage stopped the man. There's no telling who's going to lose. I don't like to be second, you know that. They played a game, exchanging meaningless phrases. What, did you brag? Samuel looked victoriously at his friend, putting the cue on the table. And I warned you. It's a shame to admit it. Scratching the back of his head, Harry lamented. But you won all right. Don't worry. I'll buy you a cognac. Although, as I know, it's better for doctors to refrain from drinking alcoholic beverages, especially plastic surgeons. Don't go off topic. The man stopped him. Or did you spare some money for an old friend? They left the game and went into a cozy booth, hidden by thick drapes from prying eyes. I wanted to say thank you very much for tonight. My friends were sitting on comfortable soft sofas. The hops were dizzying my head. The club's atmosphere allowed me to relax and not think about anything. I only now realized how tired I was. I hadn't taken a vacation in a long time. Monica and I are always at work. No, I'm not complaining. I just realized how damn tired I am. It's good to be in a man's company. It's so relaxing. Don't thank me. Harry waved him away. I'm glad we're having a good time too. Believe me, sometimes it's good to take a break from each other. You don't know how to relax at all. Why are you always looking at your phone? He asked reproachfully, noticing how tensely Samuel looked at the screen from time to time. I think I have to go now. Guiltily, the man said. Monica will be angry. It's getting late. I'm surprised she hasn't called me by now. I hope you put the phone on mute. Harry looked at him suspiciously. Sudden calls are not welcome here. Nothing should distract visitors. It's a condition of the club. Of course, I understand. It's just that Monica would be worried, and I don't want to worry her. You're a pansy, buddy. Harry exclaimed. You've got it all wrong. Samuel objected. I'm not used to vacationing without her. We're always together. In fact, I'd like to get to bed. The week's stress is taking its toll, and I'm not used to partying at night. Don't be in a hurry to leave. My buddy smiled enigmatically. It's still early days. Samuel looked at his friend puzzled, but gave in and remained seated. Harry pressed the call button, and a waitress entered the room, the same one who had approached them in the hall. In her hands, the girl held a tray with glasses and a light appetizer. Here's the surprise. The man stood up, took the tray, placed it on the table. We've been waiting for you, oh beautiful child. He grinned, looking at the frightened girl appraisingly. Sit with us. The man forced her to sit down beside him. What's your name? Cindy. The girl tried her best to move away from the intrusive customer. Sorry, we're not supposed to talk to customers. Nice to meet you. I'm Harry. And this, ignoring the objection, the man pointed to a friend. Samuel. He watched the scene blankly. He had already guessed that all the waitresses here provided intimate services to the customers. He was not very pleased to see his friend trying to flirt with a girl. The man frantically thought about how to politely leave without offending Harry. He didn't need all these games. He didn't even think about the possibility of cheating on his wife. Why was Harry putting on such a show here? Samuel thought with disgust. He knows I love Monica and have no interest in other women. You're so sweet. Harry continued to court Cindy. That's an unusual name you have. Did you make it up on purpose so the clients would remember you better? He took the girl's hand and kissed the delicate fingers. Do you want to make a lot of money? He stared at her questioningly. "How much do you get in a month?" The girl was silent, looking warily at the drunken visitor. "And I offer you the same money, only for an evening in our company." The man, with his free hand, ran it along Cindy's naked thigh. Samuel watched from the side, did not interfere, thinking that this is the custom here, foreplay before intimacy. "What do you think you're doing?" The girl recoiled fearfully from Harry. "Let go at once," she said in horror, trying to wrestle her hand from the man's firm grasp. "I'm going to scream. Why are you breaking?" Harry smiled drunkenly as he continued to hold the waitress. "Don't ruin my buddy and I's evening. Look at him, he's obsessed with his job. One night he let himself relax. Give him a hand. Do what you do best. Samuel, seize the opportunity. I give you the right to be her first. And you, beautiful." Once again he turned to the girl. "Don't be afraid. My buddy won't offend the poor girl. He will be very polite. There's no telling who's going to lose. I don't like to be second, you know that." They played a game, exchanging meaningless phrases. "What did you brag?" Samuel looked victoriously at his friend, putting the cue on the table. "And I warned you." "It's a shame to admit it." Scratching the back of his head, Harry lamented. "But you won all right. Don't worry. I'll buy you a cognac. Although, as I know, it's better for doctors to refrain from drinking alcoholic beverages, especially plastic surgeons." "Don't go off topic." The man stopped him. "Or did you spare some money for an old friend?" They left the game and went into a cozy booth, hidden by thick drapes from prying eyes. "I wanted to say thank you very much for tonight. My friends were sitting on comfortable soft sofas, the hops were dizzying my head, the club's atmosphere allowed me to relax and not think about anything. I only now realized how tired I was. I hadn't taken a vacation in a long time. Monica and I are always at work. No, I'm not complaining. I just realized how damn tired I am. It's good to be in a man's company. It's so relaxing." "Don't thank me." Harry waved him away. "I'm glad we're having a good time, too. Believe me, sometimes it's good to take a break from each other. You don't know how to relax at all. Why are you always looking at your phone?" he asked reproachfully, noticing how tensely Samuel looked at the screen from time to time. "I think I have to go now." Guiltily, the man said. "Monica will be angry. It's getting late. I'm surprised she hasn't called me by now." "I hope you put the phone on mute." Harry looked at him suspiciously. "Sudden calls are not welcome here. Nothing should distract visitors. It's a condition of the club." Of course, I understand. It's just that Monica would be worried, and I don't want to worry her." "You're a pansy, buddy," Harry exclaimed. "You've got it all wrong," Samuel objected. "I'm not used to vacationing without her. We're always together. In fact, I'd like to get to bed. The week's stress is taking its toll, and I'm not used to partying at night. Don't be in a hurry to leave." My buddy smiled enigmatically. "It's still early days." Samuel looked at his friend puzzled, but gave in and remained seated. Harry pressed the call button, and a waitress entered the room, the same one who had approached them in the hall. In her hands, the girl held a tray with glasses and a light appetizer. "Here's the surprise." The man stood up, took the tray, placed it on the table. "We've been waiting for you, oh beautiful child." He grinned, looking at the frightened girl appraisingly. "Sit with us." The man forced her to sit down beside him. "What's your name?" "Cindy." The girl tried her best to move away from the intrusive customer. "Sorry, we're not supposed to talk to customers. Nice to meet you. I'm Harry." And this, ignoring the objection, the man pointed to a friend. "Samuel." He watched the scene blankly. He had already guessed that all the waitresses here provided intimate services to the customers. He was not very pleased to see his friend trying to flirt with a girl. The man frantically thought about how to politely leave without offending Harry. He didn't need all these games. He didn't even think about the possibility of cheating on his wife. Why was Harry putting on such a show here? Samuel thought with disgust. He knows I love Monica and have no interest in other women. You're so sweet. Harry continued to court Cindy. That's an unusual name you have. Did you make it up on purpose so the clients would remember you better? He took the girl's hand and kissed the delicate fingers. Do you want to make a lot of money? He stared at her questioningly. How much do you get in a month? The girl was silent, looking warily at the drunken visitor. And I offer you the same money, only for an evening in our company. The man, with his free hand, ran it along Cindy's naked thigh. Samuel watched from the side, did not interfere, thinking that this is the custom here, foreplay before intimacy. What do you think you're doing? The girl recoiled fearfully from Harry. Let go at once, she said in horror, trying to wrestle her hand from the man's firm grasp. I'm going to scream. Why are you breaking? Harry smiled drunkenly as he continued to hold the waitress. Don't ruin my Buddy and I's evening. Look at him. He's obsessed with his job. One night, he let himself relax. Give him a hand. Do what you do best. Samuel, seize the opportunity. I give you the right to be her first. And you, beautiful. Once again he turned to the girl. Don't be afraid, my Buddy won't offend the poor girl. He will be very polite. Don't be stubborn, you'll like it. Harry, I don't think she really knows what you want her to do. Leave her alone. Don't overplay it, pretty girl. Drunkenly smirked his friend, trying to hug, kiss the girl, not paying attention to Samuel's words, like she didn't know where she was going. I'm just a waitress. I brought your order. Let me go. Cindy was seriously startled to find herself in the company of two disembodied men. You brought the order? Harry laughed. I don't pay that kind of money for a glass of cognac. I can have a drink at home. Samuel saw that his friend was angry. Let's go to the room. He stood up and pulled the girl behind him. She stubbornly tried to reason with the client. Let me go, please. I'm not that kind of girl. I'm just a waitress. The intimate services are provided by other girls. Would you like me to call Barbara? She'll choose the most experienced one for you. Anyone would be honored to spend the night with you. I don't want other girls. I want you. You're obliged to fulfill your client's wishes. No, I didn't consent to these services. Who do you think you are? Who here is interested in your consent? Are you so naive that you left without realizing how girls make money here? You're playing hard to get, but admit it, you're ready to lie under anyone, just to pay money. You're just trying to sell yourself, aren't you? It's not true. You're all lying. The girl shouted, tears flowing from her eyes. Samuel finally began to realize that the girl was not joking. She was tricked into this club where rich men are debauched. I'm tired of you. Meanwhile, Harry was finally getting angry. I don't care whether or not you know what's going on. Don't play hard to get. Barbara promised me you, and I'm not giving up until I get what's mine. Please, Cindy begged, not wanting to go with Harry. Let me go, asked Barbara. You need another girl. She fought back as best she could, trying to break free from the clinging hands of the lust-fueled man. Don't touch me. The landlady came to the noise. What's going on here? She asked angrily, adjusting her hands in lace gloves, luxurious bust. Here. Harry pointed to Cindy. She refuses to honor the terms of the contract. I wanted to make nice with her. Don't you dare ruin the reputation of this place. You'll do as you're told. Barbara went after her. She knew exactly where she was going to work. You don't have to be so innocent. Did you sign the contract? One of the terms and conditions is to provide the services requested by the club's client. That's not true. The girl shouted desperately. I did not sign such a contract. You have no right to force me to sleep with customers. Don't talk nonsense, angrily hissed the landlady. Go to the 3rd floor. I'll show you the contract form with your signature. You'll work with this client. She nodded at Harry. For free. You'll be smarter next time and try not to upset me, or I'll call the guard and you'll sing differently. He's not going to be nice to you. He'll explain your rights and responsibilities. He knows how to do it well. You'll be like silk, and they'll throw you out on the street like a kitten. You won't find a decent job anywhere else. Believe me, I have connections. Stop it. Samuel stood up for the girl. What are you doing to her? Harry, he looked at his friend reproachfully. I didn't expect you to be so mean. You've always been gentle with women, haven't you? What's the matter with you? Why are you forcing the poor girl? Take another girl if you must. There must be someone more experienced. Why are you picking on her? Don't bring me up now. The man snapped at her. She's expendable. There are dozens of them here. Step aside. I'll deal with her myself. I paid money for her and I want what's mine. You see, the girl doesn't want to go anywhere with you. Samuel took off his jacket and put it on the shoulders of the sobbing Cindy. Don't worry, I won't let you get hurt. Come with me. What are you doing? Where are you going with her? I get it. You've decided to take advantage of the little bugger yourself, haven't you? Harry laughed raucously. Go ahead, my friend. I don't mind. I was going to split it between the two of us, but I can live with that. Take advantage. I'm being kind today. But what about your Monica? He laughed. You've decided to change your principles for some pretty girl. You're even willing to fight with a friend. How can you say that? I don't recognize you. Tiredly, Samuel remarked. Where has the good, decent Harry disappeared to, my friend? Leave the girl alone. Barbara tried to intervene. This is my employee. You can leave, but leave her alone. I'll call the guards. Samuel took Cindy by the hand and moved towards the exit. Get out of the way. Decisively, he commanded Harry and Barbara. No one dared to oppose him. The guard, thinking that the girl had voluntarily gone with the client, silently opened the door in front of them. The man put the girl in the car. Where are you going home? Asked Samuel Cindy. He carefully adjusted the jacket on her shoulders, took away a strand of hair to see her face, and then the girl, apparently, finally realizing that nothing else threatens her, ducked it to the shoulder of her savior and sobbed in her voice. The man embraced her awkwardly, pulling her against him soothingly. Well, it's all behind you now. How did you so carelessly sign the contract and not even read it carefully? Why did you join this place in the first place? Tell me, it'll make you feel better, believe me. Me, she was sobbing. I need money, and Jenna, my classmate, said it pays well. So, do you need a lot of money? Cindy nodded silently. Why would a young girl need a lot of money? It's a long story. I'm afraid you don't have time to listen to me. She was silent for a moment, as if considering whether or not to tell it. I was terrified when I heard that. Like a mad woman, I ran out of the house, caught a cab, and went to the hospital. There the doctor on duty took me to the resident's room and called the investigator, who asked some stupid questions, but I remember almost nothing. So they are alive? Samuel asked me. Are your parents alive? My mom died on the spot. My dad was in a coma for a long time, almost a month. I had to bury my mom myself. The girl said quietly. I don't know how I survived the identification procedure. the funeral, and the wake. I have no one to help me. I think at that moment I grew up 10 years. Poor you, how you suffered. The man squeezed her hand. I remember that my neighbor in the stairwell all persuaded me to cry, but I did not shed a tear at the cemetery. Mom was lying in the coffin so beautiful, as if alive. I didn't want to believe that she was gone. The scariest part was coming back to an empty apartment. The feeling of bitter loss overtook me, and I finally gave vent to tears. For several days I didn't leave the house. I didn't want to see or hear anyone. My neighbor sometimes called me, brought me food, and tried to distract me from sad thoughts, but I did not react to anything. I threw the food away at once and kept lying there, lying against the wall. I loved my mother very much. The girl was quiet. I didn't even want to live without her. But then I pulled myself together for the sake of my father. I didn't know if he would come out of his coma, but I couldn't leave him alone. If he woke up, he would need my help. When I came to the hospital a few days later, the doctor encouraged me, saying that my father had a good chance of recovery. I went to the hospital every day after classes, sat at his bedside all evenings, read books for him, and prepared to enter the institute. Talking to him. It was very hard. I realized with my mind that perhaps it would be better for him to leave after his mother than to spend his whole life in a wheelchair. But then I prayed to God to keep him alive. The fear of losing both my parents followed me around. And where is your father now? At home with me. He took the loss of my mom very hard. I told you they were very attached to each other. The news of her death took a toll on him. The damage to his spine left no chance of a full recovery. He went to rehab, of course, but it didn't help him get back on his feet. In addition, we began to have financial difficulties. All the money saved by my mother went for her funeral and for my father's treatment. All procedures, medicines, accommodation in the rehabilitation center turned out to be paid, and we still have to live on something to pay utility bills. And what about the institute? I had to forget about the institute. I needed a job because we had no income except for my father's miserable disability pension. I got a job as a courier. The salary was small, but I was satisfied with the free schedule because I could not leave my father alone for long. He could not even go to the toilet without me. Although I was running around the city with deliveries like an eagle for days and nights on end, I was still desperately short of money. My father's pension was almost all spent on his treatment. How did you survive it all? So small, fragile. You can't imagine how hard it was for me. I'd come home and drop dead on the bed. And at such a moment, when I was ready to surrender to the mercy of despair, my friend and classmate Jenna appears on the doorstep of the apartment. We've been friends since childhood. I remember that tiredness knocked me off my feet that night, and I fell asleep right in my clothes on the living room couch. The doorbell woke me up. I was startled because I wasn't expecting any visitors, especially so late. Jenna looked stunning, expensively, and stylishly dressed, with hair, makeup, as if she had just come from a high-end beauty salon. She knew about the trouble that had befallen our family, was aware that I was in dire need of money. She told me that she works as a waitress in a closed but very popular nightclub, where the rest is for rich and respectable men who are not stingy on generous tips. In the restaurant, the prices are prohibitive, the cuisine is first class, and the employees are allowed to take out the food left by the guests. No stranger can get in from the street. The club entrance is strictly by business card. The friend was not deceived. The salary was even higher than my expectations. The only thing I was not satisfied with was the uniform, but I threw away all shame. For that kind of money, I was willing to walk around naked. Are you judging me? Cindy looked at Samuel questioningly. No, The man genuinely felt sorry for the girl who'd been through such an ordeal. "I think I'd do anything for a loved one. I realize you had no other choice. Thank you." She turned away again, her eyes filled with pain and confusion. After only a week's work, I was able to provide my father with a month's worth of medication. I was happy. She was silent, trying to cope with her worries. But I forgot that free cheese only comes in a mousetrap. I did not guess that the owners for such a high salary will require me to provide guests intimate services. To be honest, I really did not read carefully the text of the contract, which was slipped to me when I got a job at the club. The amount of money Barbara offered me for waitressing made me unable to think straight. She threw her head back and looked at her savior in despair. "Do you believe me? I'm not a prostitute. Even for my father's sake, I can't go to bed with a strange man." She started to cry, smearing tears on her face, her thin shoulders shuddering. Samuel was confused. He didn't know what to do. He took a handkerchief out of his pocket and handed it to the girl. She grabbed it. "Thank you." The sobs got quieter and quieter. "I don't know what to do now. How to go on living? I'm so tired from this damn life, from lack of money. I want to kill myself, not to suffer, but I feel sorry for my father. He'll be lost without me." And so much in her voice was deadly fatigue that everything turned over in Samuel's soul from pity for her. He put his arms around her and kissed her. Cindy did not resist, but clung to the man trustingly, hugged his neck awkwardly, and answered the kiss. "My darling, my little one," repeated the man, kissing salty from bitter tears, cheeks, eyes, lips of the girl. "How have you suffered? I will not abandon you. I will help you. You'll see, everything will work out. I have money, enough for you and for your father's treatment. I won't let anyone hurt you." Samuel reluctantly pulled away from Cindy, wiped the tears from her eyes. "I'll take you home now. Give me the address. You'll rest, regain your strength, and then we'll think together about how to help you." He stopped the car in the driveway. "Well, it's time for you to go. It's getting late." Samuel was struggling with an inner struggle with himself. He realized with his head that he had to let her go, and his heart was already burning with desire, but the man held on, so that later he would not suffer from remorse that he had taken advantage of her trustfulness and sense of gratitude for her rescue. So they sat in silence, each thought of his own. Cindy did not dare to get out of the car. She certainly did not believe that this handsome and rich man would help her. Why should he hang my problems on himself? The girl thought, what can I give him in return? A beggar, and even with a sick father on top of it. But I'm not offended. He rescued me from that brothel. Although now I have to look for a job again. Goodbye, she said quietly and got out of the car reluctantly. Samuel called out to her, "Give me your phone number and I'll call you." He wrote everything down, sent a kiss goodbye, and drove away, leaving behind a cloud of dust. The girl stood a little longer and then went home. Her thoughts were confused by what had happened. Her life had changed abruptly in an instant. She couldn't forget the face of the man who treated her not with disdain, but with understanding. She was so tired of fighting the vicissitudes of fate alone that she wanted to lean on someone's strong shoulder. The image of the man kept her awake, and Cindy rolled around in bed until almost morning, remembering how he had kissed her. She finally fell asleep, clutching Samuel's jacket to her chest. Finally, squinting sleepily, Monica met Samuel in the hallway. "I thought you weren't coming back today." She reached up to kiss him. "You smell of expensive cognac, tobacco, and feminine perfume. Did you have a good night? What else am I supposed to smell like when I come back from a men's club? The man tried to make a joke, dodging his wife. Naturally, there were women there. And dancing a private dance? Laughing, she began to stretch the buttons on her shirt. It didn't come to that. Thank goodness. Pulling away from his wife, Samuel spoke. No need. I'm going straight to the bathroom. Where's your jacket? Monica looked at her husband suspiciously. I hope you didn't leave it at the club? Oh, shit, the man realized. I didn't take it from Cindy. I left it at Harry's. For the first time in his life, he lied to his wife. We're still a little gray at his place, but I'll pick it up tomorrow. What are you doing up? I was waiting for you. I can't sleep without you. He went to the bathroom, washed his face, and stood looking at his reflection in the mirror for a long time. You're screwed, man, he said to himself. You don't want to fall in love with a girl who is almost twice your age. The obliging memory returned to the image of a black-haired, sweet girl, as Njava saw her crying face and full of suffering brown eyes. Darling, Monica called out to him. Why are you stuck in the bathroom? It's past your bedtime. I'm coming. Samuel replied, shaking off the annoying thoughts. How did you rest? The woman asked, snuggling up to her husband. Didn't regret that you agreed to go? Good, but it was noisy. I can still hear the music in my ears. He hugged Monica, but he didn't feel the same longing for his wife that always ended in passion. What's wrong with me? He pondered. I love her. I still love her. But why do I suddenly feel nothing for her? Why am I suddenly annoyed by this woman lying next to me? Don't be silly, boy. Samuel tried to talk some sense into himself. You have 10 years of marriage and Cindy, a passing attraction. Monica began to caress her husband, reached for his lips, but Samuel carefully rejected her attempts to awaken desire in him. Let's not do this tonight. I'm tired. He pretended to yawn, pretending to be sleepy. You must be getting old. The woman laughed. You're tired of the night's entertainment. I hope you haven't had a young mistress to tire you out. Be warned, I am fearsome in anger. Samuel blushed. Good thing it's dark, he thought. It seemed to him that Monica was reading his thoughts. No, of course not. It's just too many experiences for one day. The woman placed her hand on his and fell silent. Soon the man heard her even breathing. Afraid to disturb, released from her embrace, got up and moved to the sofa in the living room, lay awake for a long time. The image of the girl did not give rest. Darling, why are you sleeping here? Woke up early in the morning Samuel, surprised voice of his wife. I couldn't sleep. I was afraid to wake you up. He answered with difficulty, coming to himself. Apparently, the rest in the nightclub was not good, but me and the girls yesterday had a good rest. Sat with a glass of wine, talked. They say hi to you. Monica leaned over and kissed her husband tenderly. Again he realized that he didn't feel the same feelings as he did when his wife was close to him. Monica was busy in the kitchen. They had a quick breakfast, got ready, and went to work. Monday dragged on unbearably long. Samuel kept looking at his watch as if he could make the hands move faster. Finally, as was his habit, he cleaned up his desk and went to his wife's office. Monica, he said, trying to make his voice sound convincing. I have to go to the warehouse. The equipment has arrived. You know, you need to check all the documents carefully. Can you get home by yourself? Monica, without lifting her head from the table, answered, Okay, honey. I just wanted to do a little more work here today. There's always something to do at the end of the day on Monday. Just don't stay too long. Samuel walked to his car, feeling remorseful, but he couldn't help it. He was magnetically drawn to the girl he had met at the nightclub. Stopping at her entrance, he called, holding his breath, listening to the ringing tone. What if she didn't answer? If she was only pretending, poor sheep? He thought, but it is impossible to play grief in such a way. Then he contradicted himself. Hello. Finally, he heard the receiver. Go ahead, I can't hear you. Cindy. In a hoarse, excited voice, Samuel said, I'm waiting for you downstairs. She appeared almost immediately, as if she had been sitting waiting for the call. She looked around. I'm here. He waved to her without getting out of the car. The girl smiled and ran to him. Hello, she said, sitting down on the seat next to him and staring intensely into the man's eyes, as if trying to read what he was thinking. I didn't think you'd call anymore. We went back to being on a first-name basis yesterday. Noticed Samuel reached up and kissed her lips. They were soft, supple. The man was suddenly dizzy with desire. I've rented a room for us at the hotel. Do you mind? Cindy nodded in agreement. Shall we go then? They were silent the whole way. The hotel receptionist looked at both of them understandingly, but said nothing, only put the room keys on the counter. 4th floor, to the right. On the table there are phone numbers if you want to order something for yourself or have any questions. Have a nice vacation. Samuel let the girl go ahead and went behind him, feeling the mocking glance of the receptionist. So be it. He waved his hand. That's how a lot of people live. Why can't I spend time with a girl I like? Yes, I'm ashamed of Monica, but I can't help it. When he entered the room, the first thing he did was shut the windows. Cindy stood there, shuffling from foot to foot in embarrassment. Samuel walked over to her, took her by the shoulders, looked into her eyes. I won't be able to see you often. Work takes up all my time. Would you agree to see me a couple times a week here? I realize that my offer sounds strange. You were probably hoping for something else, but I can't offer more than that. I agree, the girl said quietly. She would do anything to have him around, even if it was just once in a while. Samuel hugged her gratefully and kissed her, lightly at first, then more and more firmly. He felt the girl trembling in his arms, and he himself, inebriated with passion, could no longer restrain his desire. Hastily throwing off his clothes, helped her. My girl, he whispered, panting with tenderness. How good it feels to be with you. Their sighs merged into one voluptuous moan, their heated bodies pressed against each other again and again. He lay next to Cindy, and she fell asleep, exhausted from the emotion of the experience. My God, what a wretch I am! Tormented by remorse, Samuel. But I can't help it. This girl has got me. Cindy. He woke her quietly with a kiss. We should get going. The girl stretched sweetly. I don't want to leave you for a moment. She pressed herself against him trustingly, squinting in pleasure. Unfortunately, I can't stay with you. Samuel got up decisively, went to the bathroom and cleaned himself up. When will I see you again? Cindy asked sadly. I'll let you know, be on the phone. The man hurried his mistress. Monica could call at any moment, puzzled by his long absence. He drove the girl home, kissed her, and went to his wife. Sorry, I was late. Guilty, Samuel said, taking off his shoes and walking into the living room, where Monica was sitting, staring at her laptop. That's okay. I just had time to finish my work. Now, she got up from the couch, walked over to her husband, kissed him. I'm all yours. Let's go to the bedroom. I miss you. Darling, I'm tired today. I've been running around. I have so much to do on Monday, you know. I want to go straight to bed, if you're not convinced. All right, have it your way. The woman said cheerfully, returning to the computer on the couch. I'll just sit here for a while. Good night." Samuel stood in front of his wife and then went to the bedroom. "How can I deceive her?" thought he, pretending to be asleep. "We've been together for so many years, know each other perfectly well. What am I doing? If Monica finds out, it will be a disaster. I will never forgive myself for cheating on her." Samuel couldn't bring himself to stop seeing Cindy. Twice a week, he diligently found excuses for his wife to visit the girl. Monica suspected nothing. For 10 years of their life together, neither of them had harbored even a spark of doubt about the honesty of the relationship, and from this Samuel was tormented even more. "I know that Cindy and I have no future, but I have no idea how to tell her, and I don't want to lose her. Oh my God!" grabbing my head, suffering from my inability to solve the problem. "I love my wife after all, and I will never leave her. I'm well aware of that. I realize that I must break up with Cindy. But how? I can't go on without her. What can I do?" Every time Samuel returned from his mistress to his wife, he chastised himself for his weakness. He was so caught up in a web of lies that it was hard to breathe. He could not get out of this vicious circle. "Darling, what's going on with you?" Monica asked him one day. "You don't seem like yourself lately. You don't sleep well, you eat badly, you linger somewhere. You come home nervous, upset. Are you sick? What can I do for you?" she asked me sympathetically. "Don't worry, I'm just a little behind on my work, and now I'm trying to catch up. But I'm fine, don't mind me, everything will be back to normal soon. You can't work too hard, you have to rest once in a while. I need you healthy and with strong nerves. What kind of a leader are you if you're tired and fall off your feet? That's it, we can't go on like this." The man decided, listening to how sincerely worried about his health Monica. "Something has to be done about it. Today I have to tell Cindy the truth. Stop deceiving both of them. She is still young, she will meet another man, she will love him, and they will surely be happy. I can't give her anything." In the evening, determined to have a serious conversation, he arrived at the hotel, where an unsuspecting girl was waiting for him in his room. "Samuel!" She threw herself on his neck as soon as he opened the door. "I have news for you." "Wait." Unclasping her hands, the man spoke. "We need to have a serious talk. You're not listening to me." Cindy laughed, ignoring her lover's mood. "You and I are going to have a baby. Can you imagine? Baby, I'm so happy, my love." She kissed him firmly. "Sit down, please," asked Samuel, glowing with joy the girl. "I have something to tell you." The smile slid off Cindy's face. The man paused, gathering his thoughts. "I like you very much, and I'm happy I met you, but we can't be together." "Why not?" Cindy whispered with one lip. "I'm married." He looked her straight in the eye. "I know I look like a scoundrel. I should have come clean a long time ago, but I couldn't." The man jumped to his feet and paced the room, ruffling his hair nervously. "You have become like a breath of fresh air for me. My wife and I have been together for 10 years. I love her. We have a joint business. I can't just throw it all away. I can't and won't do it. Understand me?" He stopped in front of Cindy, lifted her by the shoulders from the bed, looked into her eyes, which had become completely dark from his sudden confession. He shook her. "Why don't you say something? Say that I'm a scumbag, that I took advantage of you, and you'll be right. What about me?" Tears came out of the girl's eyes. "I will help you financially, will not leave you until you find a new job. Do not worry about it. And the baby? Our baby, what about him?" "I'm sorry, but you'll have to have an abortion." "Abortion?" Cindy said fearfully. Are you suggesting we kill our child? You're a big girl. You must realize that we don't want this baby. We're not going to build a family. I can't let you raise it alone. It's better if you have an abortion. It's the smartest thing to do. Please don't object. Just do as I ask. Can you hear yourself? Cindy couldn't believe that the same man who had rescued her from the nightclub— "No, I'm fine," Samuel replied, taking a break from his thoughts. "I wanted to watch some good program, but I didn't find anything interesting. Shall we go for a walk? Take your mind off the sad thoughts that have been bothering you lately." "Why do you say that?" "I'm fine. Something's been going on with you since the night you went to the nightclub." "You're wrong. I've just been working a lot." "Well, if you don't want to talk, don't. Nothing to talk about, I assure you. I'm doing fine." "You have no idea how right you are in your guesses." Samuel thought, watching his wife as she tidied up before going to bed. "I was hoping that I would break up with Cindy and it would be easier. It didn't happen. I'm a rascal. I used the girl and left her. After all, I didn't deceive her. I didn't give her any hopes." He justified himself to his conscience. "I won't abandon her. I'll help her as I promised. It will not be difficult for me. And she is good too." Suddenly he remembered Cindy's confession. "She decided to blackmail me with a child without even consulting me. That's it. We must forget the whole thing." He resolutely got up from the sofa and followed Monica into the bedroom. Samuel plunged headlong into his work, trying to forget about Cindy. He truly believed that she had listened to him and had an abortion. Every day, the image of the sweet, black-haired girl came to mind less and less frequently. The reproachful look in her brown eyes no longer dreamed of him at night. He was able to convince himself that nothing terrible had happened. This is life, and it is sometimes unfair. But the boomerang of fate came to him from where he didn't expect, turning his whole world upside down. "Honey, are you coming home soon?" Monica came into the office. "I'll be a little late. Go without me." Samuel smiled at his wife. "I'll cook something delicious for dinner for us." She came over, kissed her husband, and went home. Time flew by quickly. Glancing at his watch, Samuel realized that he had gotten too deep into his work. He was just about to leave when the bell rang. "Samuel?" The man thought his wife's voice sounded tense. "Come home right away." "What's wrong, darling?" Before he could even finish, the phone rang with a short beep. "Strange, what's wrong?" Samuel wondered, hurriedly closing the office. Monica met him on the doorstep, her arms folded across her chest, showing that something terrible had happened and that he, Samuel, was— "I really liked her, but I only loved you. When I realized I didn't want to change anything in my life, I broke up with her right away, but she was already pregnant." "So you left her pregnant with your baby?" "Yeah, I'm a jerk, I admit it, but I didn't promise her anything. I told her I wasn't gonna leave you. I gave her money for an abortion. I hadn't seen her since the breakup. I was sure she'd listen to reason." Monica looked at him and could not believe that this was her husband, her Samuel, whom she idolized, to whom she gave all of herself, trusted as herself. It turned out that he had been deceiving her for almost a year. It was so hard on the woman's soul that she wanted to howl. "I'm glad that in the end I had the courage to confess everything to you." The man bowed his head penitently. "I understand if you don't forgive me. I'm sorry to you and to Cindy." "Yes, what are you talking about now, Samuel?" "What forgiveness? What guilt? Don't you realize what happened?" Monica almost choked on the disgust. She felt for the man she thought was the best of men. "The girl died in childbirth. Died. Do you hear me? She's gone. She was giving birth to your son. Do you understand?" "Your son." She was silent, unable to utter another word. It was hard for her to breathe with resentment. Finally, having coped with her emotions, she said resolutely, "I need to be alone now. Please leave and don't call me until I'm ready to talk." Samuel walked out of the house and wandered down the street, his feet bringing him to Harry's house. "Samuel?" What a surprise! The man welcomed his friend, shook his hand firmly, and escorted him into the living room. "How are you? I haven't seen you since that memorable night when you snatched that horny waitress out from under my nose. Did you make a deal with her? Or did you just walk her home? I had a real grudge against you that night." "Harry," the man looked longingly at his friend. "I'm an idiot. My wife kicked me out of the house, and I had a child out of wedlock." "Wow!" the man exclaimed in amazement. "How many things have happened in your life?" He went to the kitchen and returned a few minutes later with a light appetizer and a bottle of wine. "I think you should have a drink first." He poured the wine into glasses. "Now tell me everything in detail. I'm confused about women. I don't understand. How did I decide to cheat on Monica? All this time, deceiving her. All secret things come to light." The man Samuel sympathized. "Yeah, and at the worst possible time. Where's the mom who gave birth to you?" "That's the thing, she died in childbirth." "Wow," whistled Harry. "And the baby?" "It's in a hospital, but I don't know which one." "What do I do? How do I get Monica back? You don't have children, do you?" "Monica can't give birth on her own because she had an operation when she was a child. There's nothing to think about. You have to find that child and take it back to you. The ghost gave it to you." "Do you think so?" Samuel looked at his friend hopefully. "Of course, every woman dreams of a child, and here is a ready-made one. And not someone else's from the orphanage, but yours. It's from another woman. Will she want to accept it?" "She would," Harry assured him. "Every woman's maternal instinct is subconscious. You'll see she'll love him like he's her own." "All right." He stretched, yawned loudly. "It'll be dawn soon, so let me make your bed. Get some sleep, and in the morning, jump in the car and go look for the baby. I'm sure Monica will come back to you." In the morning, barely awake, Samuel set off in search of the baby. He went to one maternity hospital after another in the city, but there was no baby. "This address is the last one," he said as he got out of the car. "If it's not here, I have no idea where else to look." He went up to the head doctor's office, opened the door, and stood in astonishment. "Monica, what are you doing here?" "Apparently, the same thing you are," Monica answered calmly, turning at the sound of her husband's voice, wondering about the fate of the child and the mother. "And I beg your pardon, who are you?" The doctor squinted myopically at the entrant. He was sitting at the table in a snow-white coat, playing with a pen, which he held between his fingers. His round, good-natured face expressed impatience. "Have a seat. I am the biological father of the child." Samuel took the chair next to his wife. "That's very good, but we've already delivered the baby to the orphanage." He put his pen aside, stretched his fingers, and looked at the people sitting in front of him with interest. "He is perfectly healthy. All his immunizations were good, and his mother's funeral was held at the state expense. You know that her father is disabled and in the hospital, right?" Samuel nodded in agreement. "We didn't tell him that his daughter had died." The doctor was silent for a moment. "We were afraid the news would kill the old man. So you're ready to adopt the boy?" "Yes." Without a word, the couple answered together. "Lucky boy." The man looked from one to the other. "Good luck to you." He stood up, held out his hand to Samuel. "Here's the address of the orphanage." He held out a piece of paper written in illegible handwriting. I hope you won't regret taking in an orphan." Samuel and Monica said goodbye to the doctor. Each got into his own car and drove to the address. "Follow me." The unfriendly nurse made them put on shoe covers, gowns, and only then led them to the room where the children were sleeping. "Well, Daddy, do you recognize your son?" she asked sternly, stopping in front of the window, behind which the cribs with babies were visible. "That's my son." Without hesitation, Samuel pointed to the rosy-cheeked infant, who, as if sensing a native person, suddenly turned on, studied, and then cried in a demanding, ringing voice. "Look!" The nurse stared at him in amazement, immediately changing her displeased expression to a friendly one. "That's right. It's the first time I've seen such a thing. Come on, Cancer." She opened the door and walked over to the crying baby, gently took it in her arms, and held it out to Monica. "Here you go, Mommy. Do you know how to handle infants? We'll learn." Worriedly, the woman looked at the baby. In the meantime, he calmed down, quieted down, sleeping peacefully. "You see, he quieted down at once, it means." The woman smiled. Monica handed the boy to Samuel. "Son, boy, my darling. I've waited so many years for this moment." He was dizzy from the overwhelming feelings. "Have you seen enough?" The nurse spoke sternly. "Let him stay here for the time being, and you go and draw up the documents. Hurry up. Every day without parental affection is a lost day for him." Monica used all her connections. Given the tragic history of the boy's birth, he was transferred to the family without bureaucratic delays. Now all his free time, Samuel spent with the child, and Monica shunned the boy. He reminded her of her husband's infidelity. "Darling," a few days later, guiltily said the newly married father, when the couple put the child to bed, sat in the kitchen in the evening for dinner. "You probably have to go on maternity leave. The baby takes up a lot of time. With him must be constantly engaged. Isn't that too much to ask of me?" The woman squinted irritably at me. "I let you take the child from the orphanage so that he was not an orphan with a living father. But to lock myself in 4 walls for him, I do not intend. I have a job, this clinic, and my baby. I'm as invested in it as you are. I realize I can't ask you to take my son, but you're a woman. You're better than I am at handling him. And I'll work for 2 so that when you get out of maternity leave, you can continue practicing in peace." Monica stared unblinkingly into her coffee cup. "I'm very sorry to you." Samuel broke the silence. "I realize that there is no forgiveness for me, and it will be difficult for me to earn it. But the child is not guilty before you. He's just a baby. Don't you have a little love in your heart for him? I know you're a kind, caring person." Monica had tears in her eyes. "You can hate me, but try to accept the boy." "I can't hate," the woman said sadly. "I've been asking you for a long time. I'll try to love him." "You're right. The boy is really innocent." Family life as it seemed, Samuel fell into a familiar rut, busy at work until late in the evening. He did not notice what it cost his wife to feed, bathe, walk, bring up the child of that other woman. Her image haunted Monica everywhere. In the turn of Adam's head, as they named their son, in his smile, everywhere she could smell the features of her husband's young mistress. The woman was angry that even after his death, the other woman was invisibly present in their home, and her husband still belonged to her. Jealousy was eating away at her soul like rust. It was hiding deep inside, but the corrosion was about to turn it into an unhealing wound. "I realize I am not to blame for betraying my father," she thought, sitting by the crib where the boy slept serenely. "But I can't help it. You are the fruit of treason. I can't get over it. And I can't love you either." Surprisingly quiet, calm child we have growing up, almost no illnesses." Holding his son in his arms, Samuel rejoiced. "Why do you buy so much nonsense for him?" Monica asked irritably, unloading bags with clothes, toys, and goodies. The nursery had already turned into a warehouse. "My son must have the best." Squeezing the smiling child, replied the happy father, "I wanted to talk to you." Monica said glumly, "About what?" "I think he's old enough to be taken care of by a nanny." "I want to go to work." "Monica?" Kissing his wife, Samuel said conciliatingly, "Why do you want to go to work?" "I provide everything for you. The house is full. Stay at home, especially with such a child. He does not cause any trouble. He is now at such an age when mom should be around all the time." "Who and what do I owe?" "What do you know about trouble?" Monica's on a roll. "I'm sick of all this porridge, diapers, snot, tears. I want to be near him all day long. You see nothing. You sit late at work, and I'm alone all the time with this child your mistress gave you." "Monica." Samuel stared at his wife as if struck by thunder. "I didn't know you still couldn't forgive me. It's been 2 years. I thought you loved him." "Are you blind, Samuel?" "Thank me for raising your son, but don't ask me to love him too. It's beyond me. I'll never forget whose son he is or what brought him into this world." Irritated, the woman threw the cup into the sink and went into the bedroom. The boy, startled by the loud voices, cried. Samuel carried him to the nursery, put him in his crib, calmed him down as best he could. The boy was silent, looking at his father carefully, as if sympathizing with him. How come I didn't notice before that Monica was having a hard time with the baby? Samuel reproached himself. Was she really indifferent to the boy? What a fool I was to think that a woman could forgive adultery to the end. What to do? There's only one way out. He decided, I will urgently look for a nanny. Applying to the agency 3 days later, Samuel brought in a nice older woman. The man chose her among the young competitors, thinking that he could trust her with his boy. Monica plunged back into her old life, stayed late at the clinic, and was happy again. It was as if a stone had fallen from my soul. She confessed to her colleague, "It is not easy to cope with a child alone." The woman did a great job as a nanny, and little Adam became very attached to the old woman, even calling her grandmother. Monica, however, remained indifferent to the baby. Her heart never once ached with tenderness when the child said affectionately, "Mommy, I love you." She never called him son, and he considered her a real mom, waited in his crib in the evenings when she came home from work and kissed him before going to bed, and did not realize that there was no room in her heart for him. "Samuel, you'll forgive me." One day, calling early in the morning, apologizing, Nanny announced, "I'm sick and won't be able to babysit Adam. I have a friend who would be happy to take over for me with the baby. He's such a good boy, it won't be hard for her to handle him." No, the man declined the offer. "I don't need a stranger in the house. We'll manage on our own." He hung up the phone, hesitated, and went to his wife. "Honey, the nanny's sick. It's nothing." Getting ready for work, Monica said nonchalantly, "You can call the agency and they'll send someone else. I wanted to ask you to stay with my son today, but I can't." The woman was indignant. "I'll be busy at work again." "I think so," objected the husband. "One day will not seriously damage our work. It's a day off tomorrow anyway. I'm begging you." He looked pleadingly at Monica. "Just one day. Tomorrow I promise to let you rest." "All right," she agreed, "but tomorrow is all mine." "Thank you." Samuel kissed his wife gratefully. Mommy, let's not go in the car. I want to walk. It's far away on foot." Monica tried to reason with him, but he stubbornly persisted. "I'm not going in the car. I'll walk myself. Let me go." "Excuse me, please." She turned to the driver. He shrugged his shoulders and drove off sharply. No sooner had mother and son to make 100 steps, as there was a squeal of brakes. Then there was a sharp blow, followed by the scraping of metal. The screams of passers-by, the groans of the injured painfully struck the ears. Monica looked around, frantically clutching the boy's hand, and saw that the very car in which she and the child were supposed to go to the clinic was standing and smoking, smashed into a pole. Gawkers had already gathered around. Someone shouted desperately, "Call an ambulance! The man is still alive." Monica stood there, unable to move. She only now realized that she was on the verge of death. "Adam, my son!" With tears in her eyes, Monica said in horror, "If it weren't for you, we wouldn't be alive." She grabbed the child, pressed her breasts and sobbed, "My son, my dear little son." "Kiss him," crying and laughing, she said. "You are with me. You're with Mommy. Mommy loves you. I will never let you be hurt." Without letting the child out of her arms, she dialed the number of the ambulance and hurried home. The doctor arrived, examined the boy, prescribed medicine, and calmed the worried mother. "Monica, how are you here without me?" Samuel's worried voice came from the hallway. "Hush!" Pressed her finger to the woman's lips, leaving the nursery and carefully closing the door behind her. Adam had just fallen asleep. The fever had gone down. "Samuel, I'm sorry," cried Monica, hugging her husband. "How stupid and wicked I was, consumed by my resentment. I almost lost the honor of being a mother, this most precious child in the world." "Monica?" Dazedly, the man stared at her. "What's the matter? I don't understand." "Adam saved me today." And she told him about the accident. "I don't want to leave him for another minute. I'm demanding that the nanny be fired as of tomorrow. I'm gonna take care of my son on my own. To hell with the job, as long as the child is alive and well." "Thank you, darling." Hugging and kissing his wife, said Samuel. The boy, surrounded by the care of loving parents, quickly recovered. "Monica?" One evening, a man spoke. "Our boy has a grandfather. It's unfair to deprive a child of a relative, and it's a pity for the old man because he lost his whole family. Let him know he has a grandson growing up. What do you think? Of course, we should look for him at the hospital." At the weekend, they went to visit Cindy's father, and it turned out he'd been moved to a state-run nursing home. Yes, Samuel pulled the car over to the 2-story, dingy building. This building has been in need of major repairs for a long time. Not a single flower in the yard, or even a decorative bush. What a dreary landscape. "Do you smell sauerkraut in here?" Monica asked, pinching her nose. "Looks like something else is burnt. How can you live in such conditions?" The man was indignant. "In the rooms and wards, all the plaster has peeled off. Is it impossible to hang normal light fixtures? The bulb is still burning under the ceiling, and this is the XFI century. I would have fired the nurses and orderlies a long time ago because it is impossible to breathe from the smell of sweat, urine, and medicines." In the corridors wandered like shadows inhabitants, slovenly dressed, little talkative. They stared at the visitors indifferently, staring at them with empty, lifeless eyes. "Hello," said Monica cautiously, addressing a man who was sitting in a wheelchair, scrutinizing something outside the window. The bed was covered with a blanket in an old, frayed comforter cover. At the sound of an unfamiliar voice, the man turned slowly and looked at the intruders with an unexpectedly lively look in his brown, Cindy-like eyes. My name is Monica." "Samuel." The man held out his hand in greeting. The old man shook it silently. "And this is your grandson Adam, Cindy's son." "Wrong," the old man said in a creaky voice. "I can't have a grandson. My daughter died in childbirth." "Yes, she died, but we found the boy. He's alive and well." Monica pushed her son forward. "Look closely, he looks just like Cindy." The man put on his glasses with the broken lenses and began to look at the child. The wrinkles on the old man's face began to smooth out, and finally he smiled with difficulty and said, "Our breed. Look at those eyes. What is your name?" He turned to the baby. "Adam," the boy answered shyly, "and I'm Grandpa James." The old man gently took his grandson's hand. "So we've met. You don't come here anymore." Suddenly the old man looked up at the guests. "It's not right for a child to see me like this. Thank you for letting me see my grandson. I won't want to die now." The couple looked at each other meaningfully. "James," Monica spoke up, "we will not leave you here. We will transfer you to another hospital, where you will be well cared for, and we will visit you." "Thank you if that's the case," the man said. His shoulders shook in silent sobs. Tears came to Monica's eyes. "I thought I was going to die here alone. We promise we won't leave you," Samuel assured him. "You'll see your grandson grow up. I'm looking at him." The old man smiled. "And I see Cindy. She was the same silent, very kind, helpful, worked hard. So God took her away, and she ruined her health." The couple returned home dejected. They sincerely felt sorry for the man, who, by the will of fate, remained in need of no one. They had already decided for themselves that they would not abandon him. They would create all conditions so that he did not need anything and quietly lived out his life. After putting their son to bed, they sat next to each other and talked for a long time. "I am very happy," Monica said. "Our house has really become a full bowl now. We have a favorite son, our own and the best." Next to me, she confessed, looking at her husband with a look of tenderness. "A man I adore. Our clinic is thriving." "And me," kissing her, said Samuel, "the best wife in the world. And I don't need anything more in my life."
New videos are posted every day. Subscribe and click the bell.
Sam walked sluggishly home. He already knew that he was going to be punished by his father. The boy was angry not so much at his father William, who would punish him, but at his sister Nancy, who had told his father everything. And the thing is, Sam's dad fixed the old tape recorder, and he was very proud of it. William kept his rarity in his shed, which he used as a workshop. The man forbade the children to enter the building in his absence. However, as they say, forbidden fruit is sweet, and Sam and Nancy. And when Dad was fishing, secretly went into the workshop. The boy was more interested in hooks for swimming trunks, but Nancy wanted to listen to the tape recorder. She asked her brother to help her turn it on. Sam complied with the request. A song came on, but after a few minutes the sound became disgusting. Nancy, 9 years old, capriciously said to her brother Sam. Sam had already picked up his fishing gear and wanted to run to his friend Ben's house sooner to go to the lake. But his sister wouldn't let him go and begged him to help fix the tape recorder. Sam realized that he could not get rid of Nancy just like that and suggested to her that you can fix the tape recorder yourself. And after this phrase, the boy explained what parts should be greased in the tape recorder. Nancy, hearing her brother's words, agreed, nodded, and clapped her hands joyfully. Sam looked at his sister with a smirk and added, "Just be careful not to overdo it with the oil. And don't stay here too long, so that your father doesn't catch you here, or you'll be full of mushrooms." "Well, I'm out of here. Ben's already raising me." And after that, the 14-year-old boy jumped out of the barn and ran to his friend's house. Sam hoped that his sister would be out before his father got there, but the opposite happened. The guy and Ben had already been sitting at the lake for about 2 hours when he saw Nancy walking towards them. Sam immediately suspected something wrong and shouted to her, "What's wrong? Is your father waiting for you at home?" "Why?" asked the teenager tensely. "He came in earlier than usual today and found me in the barn. I was just turning on the tape recorder. Dad got angry and asked me if you were here. And I said yes, you could have kept me here. Why did he come home so early? I didn't ask him that." And now Sam was walking home, realizing what he was about to get from his father. Only the teenager entered the courtyard, followed by his sister, as William raised his eyebrows at the sea of questions about who allowed him to enter the workshop in his absence. Sam quietly replied that no one had. And then the father asked a completely unexpected question to the teenager: "How did you advise your sister to fix the tape recorder?" The boy looked perplexed at his father and told William listen to his son, and then threateningly said that advice should be given wisely. And as it turned out, Nancy lubricated the tape recorder, but only with butter. Sam glanced glumly at her sister. She saw her brother's angry look and said tearfully, "But you didn't tell me what kind of oil to use." "My father explained to me later that in these cases they use machine oil." After this incident, William gave the boy a few slaps and forbade the party for 3 days. Nancy, on the other hand, received no punishment. Her father explained that she was not at fault in this case, as she was still young and acting on the orders of her older brother. And it happened often that Sam received more from her father than Nancy. Soon the summer was over and it was school time. Brother and sister started school. Sam often teased Nancy, for which he often received from his father. The boy was angry at his sister. What was she? "I poor Dad and thought all the time how to get back at her. And then he got his chance. Nancy was to have a race for a certain distance, and she and her friend wanted to win in this event. The girl turned to her brother to think of a way to do it. Sam thought for a while and then told his sister there was only one way to finish first. To do that, before the race, put red pepper between your buttocks. But make sure you don't start the race before the signal. Don't tell anyone about my advice, or you'll be the first to finish." The day after the race, Sam was summoned to the school principal's office with his father. As it turned out, Nancy shared this advice with her friend, and the two of them used Sam's method. The girls won the race, but after the finish line they ran around the school for a few more laps. Nancy did not tell her mom and dad about her brother's advice, but her friend informed her parents, who immediately reacted and appealed to the principal of the school. And naturally, after another incident, Sam received a beating from his father. And as always, the punishment in the form of a ban on walking for several days. The guy after this case gave himself a vow that he would no longer tease his sister. Time passed, but Sam still occasionally teased Nancy, for which of course received. And yet he found a way to wean his sister off. My poor father, when the teenager once again teased Nancy, and she complained to Dad that the guy early in the morning before school to blow his nose in the school uniform of his sister. Sam immediately informed the girl that he would do so every time Nancy wanted to inform her father about his pranks. And Nancy just tolerated all of her older brother's antics after that. Sam teased his sister until he turned 16. And as soon as the teenager celebrated his birthday, it was as if he was replaced. The guy began to carefully monitor his appearance. This was noticed even by his father, who casually said to his son, "You, just as if you want to become the first guy in the village. You must have fallen in love that you are always hanging around the mirror." Sam only wanted to answer his father, but then Nancy appeared, who heard his father's words and reacted immediately. The girl said in a sarcastic tone, "Sam wants to show off to the new teacher who told him that he is growing up handsome." The years flew by imperceptibly, and soon Sam graduated from school. The young man already knew very well that he had a handsome appearance, as he had been told about it many times by his mother's acquaintances, as well as by girls from the village. Sam's friend, when he heard compliments in his friend's direction, wrinkled his nose in displeasure and said, "You're lucky you have good looks. You can finish any king. I'm not interested in that. I want to live large, and I'm not in danger of it, because now I'll go to college, get a profession, and earn little. Is that a life? I want to ride on a yacht, go to restaurants, travel abroad. Oh, where are you going? Benjamin said with a laugh. A normal dream for a good-looking guy. Maybe you want to twist the tails of cows in the countryside. I don't like that kind of work. Don't get all hot and bothered. If you want to live a nice life, you've got a chance. I'll use my looks and seduce a rich girl. And then you'll live a good life. I'll have to think about your proposal, but it won't work. I don't intend to get married and have screaming children who need diapers changed every half hour. Soon Sam entered college in the city, and from the village the boy left with a light heart. It was only difficult for him to part with his sister, over whom at one time he often stirred. The young man, though, joked about Nancy, but loved her very much, and if anyone offended her, he always stood up for her. Time flew by, and Sam graduated from college. The young man did not want to return home, as he did not see any prospects there. So he stayed in the city, rented a room for two with a student, and after that he got a job at the factory as a fitter. As soon as the guy worked for a week, he called his sister and told her how he was doing at the moment, and asked Nancy to tell his news to his parents. The girl promised to let her mom and dad know everything. She then inquired how he was doing on the personal front. Sam laughed and said that, like in the village, there were girls running after him in droves. Nancy smiled in return and said, I didn't expect any other answer. You're a handsome boy, but be careful with your nighttime activities, or you'll be a father of many children at your age. It's too early for me to try on the role of a father. He said with a laugh and immediately asked his sister if she had a boyfriend. Nancy indignantly replied that she was being courted by a young man, but that she was still thinking about it. After working for 6 years, Sam sighed tunefully, for in that time he had not been able to save even $200. And all because of the fact that it was necessary to pay utilities, rent a room, as well as to eat and travel to work. And at the same time wanted to go to a nightclub to have fun. In this regard, Ben's suggestion popped up on the young man's mind that it was possible to take advantage of his appearance and charm a rich girl who would pay for his whims. Sam saw nothing objectionable in this. After all, he was not going to steal from anyone. The guy made a decision, and all he had to do was to find a girl from a wealthy family. He decided to find a rich person in a nightclub. Sam thought that such a contingent most often hangs out there, and the next day in the evening, the young man went to such an establishment. Sam took a not strong cocktail and stood at the counter. The guy looked closely at the fair sex, as well as what they were wearing and how they behaved. He thought that if a girl was from a rich family, she should be in a strong outfit and behave relaxed. And at one point he was attracted to such a person. The girl was dressed in a golden top leather black skirt, with 2 slits on the sides. She danced with a friend, holding in one hand a flute with a cocktail. The girl laughed casually. Guys often approached her, but she immediately opened them with a glance. Sam decided to try his hand at courtship and approached the stranger. The guy raised his glass to the top and, trying to shout over the music, said that he was raising a flute to the pristine beauty. The girl looked at him with interest, but immediately asked him to back off. The young man inwardly traits, but did not back off and said, I understand that damn beautiful young ladies so and should behave toward you himself. And if for a moment to imagine that I am not from this contingent, and give me a chance to interchange with you a couple of phrases, I'm interested. Besides, you're cute too. What do you want to get me a drink? Actually, I'm used to being served by the ladies. But in this case, let's make an exception. Let's go to the bar and choose. Are you a ladies' man? The stranger said with surprise. Sam realized that he had said something stupid. He quickly realized that it was necessary to save the situation. Therefore, the first thing that came to mind said to the interlocutor, why so rude? I just have a high demand from the fair sex. Sometimes I'd even have to fight back. Now I see you are Naburietsia Price. With a laugh said the girl, and then added, how cocky are you? Come on, let's go to the bar. Soon the couple stood near the bar and sipped a cocktail. They chatted casually. Sam learned that the girl's name is Lily. She's 19 years old, studying at university. Her father is a big official and her mom is an entrepreneur. The young man, having learned the details of the internal, was jubilant that he made the right choice when he approached the girl. Then the couple danced and, all ready for 0 o'clock, left the night establishment. The young people went outside and the girl headed for a foreign car. The guy remained standing in place. Lily turned around and asked why he was frozen like a statue. Sam said he was uncomfortable with the girl driving the car by herself. Lily laughed and said, "Do you know how to drive? Then get in the driver's seat and I will show you where to go." Soon the young people arrived at the given address. The couple walked into the 2-room apartment they had previously owned. Sam immediately assessed the surroundings. He mentally instructed himself that it was necessary to please this girl this night so that she would want to meet again. And there the guy decided that he would figure out how to manipulate her. Sam's plan succeeded. The next morning when he woke up, there was a cup of coffee and a plate of fat in front of him. The girl sat next to it and looked at him adoringly. The man sipped the flavored drink and immediately heard you were inimitable. "Let's spend the whole day together, drive around the city, go to decent cafes, and then come back to my place. Your offer is tempting, but I can't afford the pleasures of life. You know that. Who told you you'd be paying? I'm the one who proposes it, so I'm the one who finances it." Lily said with a smile. "Maybe you'll give me some cash. It's a bit awkward having a girl pay for you, isn't it? I like the way you think. We'll go to an ATM. I'll withdraw the money, and you'll pay for all the services yourself." After that day, Sam started seeing the girl a lot. They'd been dating for a little over 2 months. Lily gave money to the guy, but it was small amounts. And all because of the fact that the girl was financially dependent on her parents' money. Sam didn't like that. He wanted the mistress to be independent of others, and her money was managed by herself. That is why the young man decided to part with Lily. When they met again, he told her about it, which caused a flurry of emotions. And then the unexpected statement of the girl, "You cannot leave me, as I am pregnant by you." That's a lie. What's the point of me lying to you? So you have to terminate the pregnancy because I'm not going to be a father. If you go against my will and have a baby, you won't get much since I have a small salary. The young man said stiffly and left the apartment. Later he found out that Lily had lied about the baby. She just wanted to keep the guy close to her. However, after such a statement, Sam concluded for himself that in the future it is necessary to use contraception. Now that the guy realized what kind of girl he needed, he decided that it was necessary to look for her not in a nightclub, but through a marriage agency. And soon he already had enough applicants. He chose a prettier woman, who was 34 years old. After a while, the man sat with the girl in a cafe and had a nice conversation. He actually liked her. It was a slender brunette with refined facial features. Her name was Betty. From the girl, the young man learned that she is an entrepreneur, has her own boutique, lives in a 2-room apartment in a dormitory district. She has a Chevrolet automobile. Betty asked the young man to tell her about himself. The young man did not make up anything about himself and told it like it is. His biography, the woman after his story looked at him thoughtfully, and then said, "And why are you so handsome? And do not get acquainted with peers. With them is not interesting. I am more attracted to women who are wise and like to talk to them. There's something to talk about and it's nice to enjoy. What about you? I see you're a frank young man. Well, let's try to meet you. Maybe we can make the perfect family." The couple started dating. Betty was good with Sam. He could turn an ordinary day into a holiday. With his noble character, the man also enjoyed socializing with the woman, and he often teased her like he used to tease his sister. Betty took no offense at Sam for this, until a certain point. It was when the couple was already dating. For the 3rd month, Betty was at work, as the downstairs neighbor called and said that she was being flooded from her apartment. The woman immediately closed her store and hurried home, calling the plumber in advance to come. Betty entered the apartment and hurried to the bathroom, but there was no water running. She went to the kitchen, but it was dry there too. The woman shrugged her shoulders perplexedly and wanted to go to her neighbor to find out why she had deceived her. But then Sam came out of the room to her and said, "See how great I've made your day off. I should call and tell her you're flooding the neighbor. How are you already here? Do you realize what you're doing? I called the plumber, and now I'm gonna have to pay for a false alarm. I got ripped out of work on a Sunday when it's busiest. which means at this time I'll lose the opportunity to sell something and therefore no income. I don't understand how a neighbor could go along with your scam and call me. And collect it. What's there to understand? With a smile said the guy and continued. Money makes everything. I paid my neighbor to make that call. You're laughing. I give you money and you spend it recklessly. You're your own beggar's brood. And in a way, I'm even supporting you. Maybe you think there's no substitute for you. Then you're sorely mistaken. Whoa, you're gonna insult me now. Look, I can leave. Good riddance. You weren't gonna start a family with me anyway. After saying that, Sam spit over his shoulder, threw the keys to the apartment and left. The man thought that Betty would cool down after a while and call. But that didn't happen. The young man would have called himself, but he was stopped by Betty for insults. Sam feared that the woman could call him a beggar one more time, and he would not be able to hold back. After the unsuccessful affair with Betty, a couple of months passed, and Sam reapplied to the marriage office. But now the guy decided for himself that it is necessary to look for a woman who does not shine beauty, and come up with a legend that she gave a large sum, and after receiving the finances simply evaporate from her life. Sam soon selected a candidate named Emily. He met the woman in a cafe. As in the first case, the young man tried to be with Emily, courteous while skillfully giving her compliments. In conversation with the woman, he learned that she was 36 years old. She owns an atelier, lives Emily, in a 2-bedroom apartment, has a car, and she has a 9-year-old son growing up. Sam told a legend about himself that he's in the construction business. He has a brigade, although in fact he continued to work at the factory, lives in another city, and here he rents a room. And also the man told the interlocutor that he loves classical music. Sam specifically said this, as he read in the woman's profile that she was partial to this genre. When the man said about his hobby, Emily looked at the young man with interest, which did not escape the interlocutor. They spent the first 2 weeks just spending time talking about various topics. And soon Emily offered Sam to stay overnight at her place. The man was not excited about the relationship with this woman, but he stubbornly went to his goal to get money from her. And what annoyed the guys the most was that he had to listen to classical music, which he hadn't liked since childhood. It had been more than 2 weeks since Sam had taken up residence at Emily's place, and he decided it was time to act or else. When the woman once again turned on classical music under the night's entertainment, he would just break all the discs. The man came to Emily in a tortured state. The woman immediately noticed that the lover was not in the mood. She asked what had happened. The young man began to ask the landlady not to worry about him. However, Emily saw that the man was eating something, and the woman persistently asked her lover what happened. I have a little problem at work, but I do not want to burden you with them. You have enough worries of your own. Spit it out. How do you not realize that your problems, they become my problems too? Or are you saying that when you talked about living together, it was just words? How could you think I was lying to you? Of course I love you. I just wanted to keep you out of trouble. But if you insist, I'll tell you. Anyway, I had a little hiccup at work, and I pay my workers at the end of every week. And right now I don't have any money, and I need a lot. It's not much, but it's a lot. We're not hackers, the man said, and then voiced how much money is needed. Emily thought for a moment, and then smiled softly and said, "It's not that much. I will give you the money, but only in a couple of days. Now just smile and don't be sad about it anymore." "Thank you, my sonny," smiled, said Sam, and kissed the woman gently on the lips. And to himself, mentally damned that he asked for too small an amount. 2 days later, Emily brought the money to her lover. The man thanked the woman and thought that tomorrow his torment would be over, because he would no longer return to this apartment and would not hear this hateful classical music, from which he was already sick. Sam said goodbye to Emily the next day as usual. He said that he would be home at the proper time in the evening, and then he discreetly gathered his things and slipped out of the apartment. Then he bought a new SM card and vanished from Emily's life forever. In the shower after leaving the woman, the man wished her mentally that she would meet a decent man who would listen to classical music with her. The money he had gotten was enough to live at his pleasure for 3 months. Now the young man thought that it was necessary to save up as much money as possible in order to open his own business in the future. Sam did not yet know exactly what kind of business he wanted to have, but he decided for himself that he would definitely become an entrepreneur. When the money ran out, Sam wanted to go to the same marriage office again. But then he realized that it was not worth it. He didn't even realize why he decided that, and now the man was on his way to another agency. Sam just wanted to stop by the agency. How did his cell phone ring? It was the sister. The guy answered and immediately heard the happy voice of Nancy. "Hey, little brother, I'm getting married in a month. I look forward to your congratulations. Is your beau right to propose?" "That's right. He came yesterday to ask me to marry him. So my sister will soon be wearing a wedding ring on her fingers. And congratulations. I'll be owed a tidy sum by the day of the wedding. And you're still living off women. Why don't you stop doing that? It's not gonna end well. Nancy, I'm fine. Don't worry about me. All right, I'll call you later. They're waiting for me at the office." And after that, the man disconnected the connection. And at the same moment, he thought that he was in time to express his desire to visit the marriage office again. After all, his sister must be given the money. Soon Sam was already sitting in the cafe again and got acquainted with another woman, whose name was Vanessa. The man told about the fact that he worked in a construction company and that he was a vegetarian. Sam also learned about this from the woman's profile after his story. Sam invited the interviewee to inform him about herself. The woman smiled and then looked at him with a rather frank look, as if undressing the man, and told him her biography. She said that she was 35 years old, worked as a storekeeper, and had a store selling cosmetics. She lives in a 2-room apartment, where in addition to her 2 parrots live. The woman also said that she has been married twice, but life didn't work out. Sam noticed the look with which the woman examined him at the meeting and immediately realized that this lady had not been in bed with a man for a long time. This fact pleased Sam, as it meant that the candy bouquet relationship would not last long. When Sam listened to Vanessa, he immediately realized that he had not heard from her whether she had a car, so he asked her about it under a plausible pretext. The woman smiled and said, "I have a car, but I don't drive. The car has been in the garage for about 5 years. The thing is that my second husband and I were in an accident. And ever since then, I've been afraid to drive myself. That's okay. You'll get over it with me, and I think you will. But maybe we'll switch to you so it is more interesting to communicate," said the smart woman and threw a leg over a leg. "As you say, my queen." And on the same day, Vanessa invited Sam to her home. The man found himself at the woman's apartment, exulted that it was so easy to charm this person. In the meantime, Vanessa offered to pass to the young man in the hall and settle down as at home. What Sam did. After a while, entered the living room and the owner of the apartment, who had changed into a short silk robe of azure color. The woman was holding a tray with a bottle of wine, a couple of glasses, and a vase with various fruits. When the man saw all this, he hurried to help Vanessa carry it to the coffee table. The couple then took a seat in the armchair that faced each other. Sam looked at the woman, and once again it hit him. The thought that there would be a lot of money to be made out of this very spectacle, but it was only necessary to act wisely. And with these thoughts, he filled his glasses and made a toast. To our future together. And to himself, he wished himself a speedy and successful completion of the scam. A few days went by when Sam moved in with Vanessa. He had no idea that this woman was so insatiable in bed. It seemed to him that she was squeezing all the juices out of him. The man couldn't say it didn't suit him. He loved it, loved being with Vanessa, but annoying and different. Namely, that he had to physically work hard at his job and then at night fulfill his manly duties without eating any meat. Sam realized that in this way he would soon die. That's why right after the factory he started to go to cafes, where he bought himself a meat-calorie dish. Time moved imperceptibly, and his sister's wedding day was approaching. Sam realized that it was time to act further, and he decided to continue in the same spirit as it was last time. The man, as always, came home from work in a dejected state. He tried not to speak much verbally to Vanessa, and naturally, the woman became alarmed and began to question him. Sam at first denied and said that everything was fine, but then he confessed that there was not enough money to pay the workers' wages. The woman recognized the man's amount and said that she had some savings, but it would not be enough to cover the wages. Sam replied that it would be possible to give at least some money to the workers, and then he would make it on his own. The man promised that he would pay back all the money soon. Vanessa withdrew the money and gave it to her lover. Sam thanked the woman and said that he had to go home for a few days, as his mother was ill. Vanessa sympathized with her lover and wished her mother a speedy recovery before leaving. Sam soon left for home, but only not to check up on his mother, as she was short, but to get to his sister's wedding. And here he is already in the registry office and watches Nancy exchanging wedding rings with the groom. And then the guests and relatives give a friendly shout to the newlyweds, bitterly and bitterly. Then everyone goes to the cafe, where the feast begins and the celebration is in full swing. The toastmaster announces that it is necessary to congratulate the young. Guests and relatives begin to put envelopes with money on the tray. When the turn comes to Sam, he rises and says, "I do not know how to say beautiful words in such cases, but I would like you to use the contents of this envelope to go to a resort and have a good vacation." The man then places a rather impressive envelope on the tray and then takes a seat at the table. On the second day of the wedding, the sister discreetly approaches her brother and asks him to step aside with her. She whisperingly asks him if he robbed a bank. The man laughs and replies that he didn't. Nancy embarrassedly says that he gave so much money that he could go to the sea and buy a dishwasher to top it off. Sam hugs his sister and wishes her nothing but happiness in her married life. The next day, the man leaves the village and goes to Vanessa in the city. He brought some goodies from home to treat the woman and let her know that he really went to see his mother. Vanessa is happy to meet her lover and passionately whispers in his ear that she missed him tremendously. It was more than 2 months before Sam started living with Vanessa. The man realized that it was time to act further, but he could not think of a strategy to borrow money from the landlady. But he was helped in this by the woman herself, with an unexpected question: "Dear, how are you doing in the construction company?" "Not bad." "Why do you ask?" "Because you borrowed money from me to pay the workers' salaries. So I thought if you're doing well, I could pay you back. I'm just saying that because you can put the money back in the bank for interest. It makes sense. You're right. I'm such a fool for borrowing money and not paying it back. And you probably think I'm a fraud now because of that, don't you? I didn't think so. Now I feel guilty for asking. Stop saying that. You know, I just think you and I need to expand our business. Maybe I should take out a loan to start a second construction firm. And then you and I can go on our honeymoon to the coast. I have another suggestion. Why pay extra interest when you can sell my car, which is worthless? You've got your money's worth, and we'll get you an expensive car. You got a point. Then maybe you wait with the money I borrowed from you. They're just in circulation. But if you want, I can pull it out at any time. You don't have to pay me back in this case. We just decided that we're going to move on in terms of material resources." Soon Vanessa sold the car and handed the money over to Sam. The man, as usual, thanked the woman, and after 3 days he retreated from her apartment. When he left the house, he looked back at the windows of the second floor, where he lived for several months, and mentally wished Vanessa to find a worthy life partner and be happy with him. It was only after that that Sam went on with ease. This time Sam kept a small amount of the proceeds from the sale of the car to live on. The rest of his finances he put under interest. The man knew that he needed to save up a certain amount of money so that he could start his own business. A couple of months passed and Sam went to the marriage agency again. And again he met a woman. Courtship and then a short stay. After the legend that there is not enough money to pay his salary and, as a consequence, to get money. True, this time the man did not get as much money as in the case of Vanessa. After some time, Sam visited the marriage agency again, and again he had good luck. Sam was happy that everything was going so smoothly for him, and he was going towards his goal. The man realized that he would not live like this all the time, that he was doing this for the sake of achieving his goal. But at the same time, Sam, somewhere in the depths of his soul, dreamed of meeting the one and only one with whom he would like to connect his life and go through all the joys and sorrows with her. However, for so many years, no woman really touched his heart, and sometimes the man wondered if maybe he wasn't meant to truly know love. A few months had passed since his last relationship with a woman. Sam was on his way to his rented room after work when his sister called him. The man happily answered and immediately asked how she was doing. Nancy at the same moment interrupted her brother and created everything as fine. I am even doing wonderfully well. I can congratulate you as you will soon become an uncle. I'm pregnant. Can you believe it? I'm gonna be a mom. That's news. Sam said in a confused voice in response. I knew you'd be happy about it. You're going to be my godfather after a while. So try to find a bride by the time the baby is born so that my baby will have a godmother. After talking to his sister, Sam thought about it. The man involuntarily invited Nancy that she had arranged her personal life, and there was a loved one beside her. But at the same moment, he pushed these thoughts away from himself and began to think that it was time to continue the work he had started and go to the intended goal. The man soon went again to the marriage office, but only this time he reapplied to the agency, where he had previously chosen Vanessa. He thought that in that marriage office is more promising to find a rich bride, which can be easily divorced for a decent amount. And now the young man is already sitting in the office, choosing a candidate. As soon as he picked up a woman, he immediately set a date with her. However, this time Sam's scheme failed, because on the second date with the woman, whose name was Valentina, he was arrested for fraudulent actions. The man denied the charges against him. Investigator Trevor listened with a chuckle as Sam asked for evidence from the man in uniform. In response, he held out a picture of Emily and Vanessa to the detained man and pronounced these are just two women who have been affected by your fraudulent actions. But I think there are many more victims. These two citizens filed a police report, and after that, it was easy to track you down. So I suggest you now make a clean confession of all your deeds and go on with a clear conscience. But I didn't do anything wrong. I was looking for a woman to start a family with. But after living with these ladies for a while, I realized we weren't right for each other. So I left, and they offered me the money themselves as financial help. You believe yourself? You're talking nonsense right now. To begin with, you reminded these women that you work in a construction company and you need to pay your employees. That's the same story you told your new friend Wendy, who almost victimized you. I suggest you come clean, not play the groom. Believe me, we will find other women who have been victimized by your fraudulent schemes. All right, I'll tell you. Tell me, will I get much for this? Sam asked me shakily. I'm not a judge to pronounce a sentence. All I can tell you is that you'll get a fine. In any case, a prison sentence, as the court decides. But I didn't do anything to get locked up. Yes, I've lived with women whom I've given pleasure to, and they've wanted it. You have to admit, they weren't forced to date me. So why should I face jail time? Sam said with fervor. You still present yourself to me as a hero, who committed crimes for the good of the people. Let's not philosophize on this topic, said Trevor, and immediately, smiling, continued to say, you must be a passionate lover. That one of the affected women made an ambiguous proposal. This is the first time in my practice, and I am, frankly, amazed. What kind of proposal? Sam said in a perplexed voice. It's better that you find out from her. So this proposal will sound more convincing than from my words, said the investigator and offered the glory to go with him. A few minutes later, Sam entered another office where Vanessa was sitting. Trevor told the woman that she had 15 minutes and that he would wait outside the door. The visitor nodded in agreement and thanked him. As soon as the investigator left the office, Vanessa immediately rushed to hug Sam. The man stared dumbfounded at the woman. He couldn't understand how this lady could hug him after all that had happened. Sam expected from Vanessa reproaches, insults, but not this. The young man pulled away from the embrace and politely said, I'm embarrassed in front of you. I deceived you. But let's get to the point. The investigator said you have something to offer me. I want you to tell me now. Vanessa looked affectionately at her lover and said that she was ready to withdraw her application if he would fulfill her request. And then the woman said that she wanted Sam to legalize the relationship with her and also to write a receipt that he would live with her forever. She would then take it to a notary together with him. Afterwards, the visitor added that if he agrees, he will probably be given a suspended sentence, and she would help to pay the fine. The man looked at Vanessa in bewilderment, and the latter looked at him with adoration. Sam didn't know what to say. And at that moment, the investigator came into the office. He said that time was up. The woman turned to her lover for an answer, and he categorically and unexpectedly said, "No way in hell." And after these words, the young man got up and went to the exit. And immediately he heard from Vanessa in reply, "But then don't expect any mercy. I'll ask that you get the full measure of it." As soon as Sam and the investigator left the corridor, Traver turned to the man and asked why he had refused a lucrative offer. Sam turned to the man in uniform and, seeing a smile on his face, asked, "Are you kidding me?" "No, just curious." "Then you have no idea what it's like to work hard and then come home, eat vegetarian food, and then make love to a woman at night. But that's the way you chose to make your money. And as they say, every job has its flaws." It's been a while. Sam was waiting for his trial in the detention center, and then his sister came to check on him. She was crying and scolding her brother that he had jumped to his feet with his relationships with women. The man asked his sister not to worry and told her that he would not do it again. Nancy countered by taking him at his word that he would keep his word. Sam reluctantly promised his sister. He thought he would be given probation for his fraudulent actions. Soon the trial took place. The man's expectations were not met. Sam was sentenced by the judge for his deeds, fined and imprisoned for 1 year and 4 months. The man could not believe that he would have to spend so much time in confinement. Soon Sam was already serving his sentence. He often reflected on his life, analyzed where he had made mistakes, that he ended up behind barbed wire. And also the man dreamed that as soon as he was released, he would start a new life. After all, he promised it to his sister. Time flew by and Sam was released. His sister met him with her husband and baby. Sam, while still in prison, knew that Nancy had given birth to a baby girl who was named Kelly. So as soon as he stepped outside the prison gates, he first hugged his sister and then asked to hold his niece in his arms. Sam gently took the baby girl in his arms and looked at her face, and then said, "She's as beautiful as you are, Nancy. Now you and your husband need to think about making sure she has a protector. So start working on a baby brother for Kelly. Let your daughter grow up to at least 2 years old. And then my husband and I will consider your proposal," Nancy said with a laugh, and immediately asked her brother what he was going to do next. Sam looked at his sister seriously and replied that he was going to live and earn an honest living. Nancy nodded contentedly and said that she loved him very much and welcomed his decision. After his release, Sam took a job as a laborer on a construction site, renting a room in advance. His sister gave him money for the first time. The man promised Nancy that he would soon pay her back. The young woman laughed in response and said that there was no need to do that, as the money was a gift to him for deciding to live like a human being. It has been 2 years since Sam was released. All this time, the man felt that he was living like a robot. He went to work after going straight home, where he cooked a meager dinner, which he consumed alone. And after eating, the man sat down in front of the TV and watched all the programs indiscriminately. Glory was often approached by women who worked at the construction site for this or that help. The man was well aware that they did this for a reason, but in order to capture his attention. However, Sam was indifferent to them, as no representative of the fair sex interested him. And if he met with girls, it was a short-term relationship. And from this circumstance, the man was also not easy on his soul, his outlet. There were only conversations with his sister on the phone. And here in one of the days when Sam came home after work, the cell phone rang. It was his sister calling. He gladly answered, and the first thing he did was to ask how she was doing. The young woman told him about her daughter and also about her parents. Then she added that she had news for him. Sam was intrigued, asked if the news was good. "You asked me once about your friend." "Well, he's in the village to visit his parents. He came by and asked how you were doing. Now your friend has become a rich man. And grandfather drives a foreign car so much. I wanted to give him your phone number, but then I thought, what if you don't want me to? You should have. I'd love to talk to him. It's an easy fix. I can see him through the window, walking down the street with his wife and kid. I can call him over and you two can talk. You want to? Go ahead. And within minutes, Sam was on the phone with his friend. They talked for a while. From Benjamin's words, the man learned that he had married a woman with a child, who was an entrepreneur. And now he and his wife had opened another store where Benjamin was already the boss. And also the friend added that soon they are expecting a child together, and that he is happy in life. After the conversation with Benjamin, Sam became upset. He remembered the conversation with his friend when they graduated from high school. After all, then the friend did not even dream about a good life, but Sam had dreamed of it. And now it turned out so that Benjamin lives happily, and he is satisfied with a meager salary and still has not settled his personal life. And yet he's approaching 35 years of age. The realization of this darkened the man's mood, and he decided to go to a cafe to unwind. Sam, not thinking long, got ready and left the apartment. The man walked down the street and kept thinking how lucky his friend was in life. He didn't notice that he had walked a few blocks. And then Sam saw a restaurant in front of him. Initially, he thought that he should not come here because the prices would be huge. And at the same moment, the man mentally scolded himself, saying not loudly, out loud, once a year, I have the right to relax in an expensive restaurant. And with these words, he entered the establishment. The man ate dinner, and then, when the waiter came up with the bill, he was suddenly horrified when he saw the amount. Sam could hardly suppress a sigh of disappointment. He took out his wallet and counted out the required amount. And as soon as he left the restaurant, he regretted that he had entered this place at all. Sam came home in a disgusted mood. He still had a residue from the conversation with his friend. The man couldn't understand why Ben, who looked unattractive, had managed to settle down so well in life, but he himself, with his charming looks, can't find a well-off girl to love. And Sam was also nervous that today he had given a lot of money in a restaurant, and all because he wanted to feel like a rich man. Time slowly moved on and another year flew by unnoticed. Sam took a vacation and went to the village to visit his relatives. As soon as the man entered the house, he saw his mother crying. Sam frowned and asked what happened. The old woman said Kelly had fallen ill. She was admitted to the regional hospital. The doctors say she has something serious and will soon need an operation, which is better done in big cities. Nancy can't find a place to be. She roars like a beluga, day and night. Why didn't she call me and tell me about this? I thought you knew everything. Crying, the mother said. Where is Nancy now? She should be back from the hospital, the old woman said mournfully and cried again. The son hugged his mother and asked her not to worry, saying that he would think of a way to help his sister. Sam, after talking to his mother, went out into the yard. The man was angry at this point at his sister for not calling and telling him everything earlier. Sam was anxiously awaiting Nancy's return so that he could talk to her about his niece's illness. It was a little over half an hour later when the man saw his sister approaching the gate. Sam hurried over to Nancy and first asked the young woman why she had hidden about Kelly's illness. Nancy looked at her brother and immediately flooded with tears. Sam put his arms around his sister. His anger at the girl had already passed at that very moment. The man realized that if he himself was so worried about his niece, what state of mind was the mother in now, thinking about her child? Sam asked his sister to sit down on the bench and tell him everything. Nancy complied with her brother's request and consistently informed him about Kelly's illness. As soon as the man knew all the details, he hugged his sister and told her that they still had time to get money for the child's surgery. Nancy looked sadly at her brother and said, My mother-in-law has given a small amount, and so have our parents. But these finances are like a drop in the ocean. My spouse tried to take a loan from the bank, but he was approved a small amount, not what he asked for. We are now waiting for the time to take this loan. Closer to the time, the doctors will say the exact time as our little one will need surgeries. Well, that's good. A little bit of everything, and we'll raise the capital. But I will ask one thing of you, that you don't do this again. You've never hidden the fact that you're in trouble from your own brother. Do you understand me? Yes, thank you for your support, Nancy said quietly. All evening, Sam, after talking to his sister, sat in thoughtfulness. The man absent-mindedly answered his father's or mother's questions. He wondered where he could get money. Sam realized that if he took a loan from the bank, he would not be approved for a large sum either. He also realized that it was unrealistic to borrow such a large amount of money. And then he remembered the struggle. Sam immediately went to his sister to get the number of his friend from her. Nancy looked at her brother with surprise and said, "Ben is your buddy, not mine. And I don't have his number. Go to his parents and get his phone number there. Do you want to ask him for money? It doesn't matter. Thanks for the tip," the man said and quickly left the house. Soon Sam went to the parents of a friend, where he learned the number of the buddy, and without wasting time, the man immediately called Ben. Sam, in a nutshell, outlined the situation to the interlocutor and immediately asked to lend him a decent amount of money. When Benjamin heard how much he wanted, his friend even whistled and said, "Do you realize how much you are asking for? I can't lend you that much, as my wife, and I have all the money in circulation. And to be honest, even if I had finances, I wouldn't give you such a sum, because you wouldn't have anything to pay back later. Nancy tells me you're struggling to make ends meet. You're a friend, but don't take offense to what I said. Ben's not a friend, you're more after what you said. Friends don't do that. I'm even bitter that I turned to you. Go on living and enjoying life. I'll never bother you again. And I hope I will never see you again," he said, and immediately disconnected the connection. The man felt an unpleasant residue from his conversation with Benjamin. He forced himself not to think about this conversation, and his thoughts were directed to where he could get money. Sam went to his parents' house. His sister came up to him and asked if he had called a friend. The brother responded by lying that he hadn't gotten through. The man did not want to discuss with Nancy at the moment the conversation about Benjamin and his rejection. Sam walked to the kitchen, sat down at the table, and thought about it. He realized that money would not come into his pocket on its own, but finances were necessary. The man realized that he could get the money only in the way he used to do. That is, by seducing a woman and getting her to pay him a large sum of money. Sam remembered that he had given his sister his word not to engage in this business anymore. But now there was no other way out. And at the same moment, the man thought of another option how he could get a tidy sum of money and keep his promise to Nancy. Sam decided that he would seduce a rich woman and marry her, and thus in the future he would not be in the dock for a swindle and would always have money. The man rubbed his hands together with joy that he had found such a good option. He immediately decided that he would look for a future bride in the capital. Sam believed that there are more opportunities to find there and faster wealthy women. The next day, the man notified the household that he was leaving. He told his sister that he would definitely get her money within 2 months. Nancy looked at her brother suspiciously and asked him if he was thinking of scamming women for money again. Sam gently kissed his sister on the cheek and replied that he had no intention of doing so. Soon the man arrived in New York. He rented a room and then wondered where exactly to meet a rich suitor. Initially, Sam wanted to go to a dingy office, but something stopped him from that. And at the same moment, the man's stomach sounded strongly. He immediately felt incredibly hungry. On the man's mind came the decision that first it is necessary to eat, and already on a full stomach to act. Next, Sam did not delay the planned action and soon left the rented room and went outside. The man decided that today he would definitely visit a restaurant. Perhaps there he would get acquainted with a woman. And here Sam already sat at the table and dictated the order to the waiter in uniform. As soon as the man dictated the dishes, he began to look around the restaurant. Sam noted with admiration that everything here is decorated exquisitely and without unnecessary decorations, as is usually done in cheap cafes. A few minutes passed and the waiter brought part of the order, saying that the hot dishes would be ready a little later. Sam nodded in agreement and prepared to start tasting the exquisite appetizer. But then his attention was attracted by a lush lady who sat at the table opposite. The stranger was looking sadly out the window while mixing a straw in her glass. She was a full woman of about 50 years of age who was dressed in a coffee-colored pantsuit. Sam looked at the stranger and the woman, as if sensing the gaze, turned to the man and looked at him questioningly. Sam involuntarily caught himself thinking that this woman was quite unhappy and obviously lonely. And he also realized that this lady was not poor. This conclusion appeared to him intuitively. And Sam got up from the table and approached her, and then politely said, "I see you are bored. Maybe I could keep you company. If you don't mind, I don't know what to tell you. On the one hand, you're a man with a strong-willed face, but no wedding ring, which suggests certain thoughts. On the other hand, I'm really bored. I'm curious to know the first side of your definition that brings you to mind. I'll answer. You're an interesting man to pay attention to a bun pulling up a cocktail. You're more likely to be interested in being with a hottie who has legs growing out of her ears and to be half my age. You're an interesting person. I'll be honest. It's not your looks that attracted me to you, it's your demeanor. But if you don't want to socialize, I'll be right back. Or rather, back to my table. Interested, young man, join us, we'll talk. Just tell me what exactly you are interested in my behavior." The man sat down next to me. He mentally realized that this woman was obviously a rich lady, but now Sam didn't know how to talk to her. Sam hadn't come up with a cover story for himself and was therefore a little nervous about it. The man didn't know what to tell the woman about himself, so he decided to act according to the circumstances. Sam offered to tell the woman about himself. The woman grinned back and said carelessly, "You're fast. Do you really think that I will tell the first person I meet everything about myself? Maybe you should tell me at the first meeting what my annual income is? You have pleased me now with your words, namely that you called our sit-downs with you the first meeting. I conclude from this that we will have more meetings, and not one, and not even two. And you are also a self-confident type with a laugh," said the woman. "Maybe just a little. Let me start our dialogue differently. I would like to know your name and immediately suggest that we switch to the first name. It will be easier to talk that way. Well, we'll follow your plan. My name is Adriana. I'm 49 years old. I come here often because the food here is excellent. This is the first time I've seen your personality. Hence the conclusion that you're a stray pigeon. That's a pretty name you have. By the way, I want to say that you and shrewd madam, because I am actually a visiting pigeon here. I just got here today, decided to conquer New York. After losing business in my hometown," Sam said, and went on to tell the woman what his name was and how old he was. The woman listened attentively and then carelessly remarked that such a handsome man should definitely be married. Sam proudly took out his passport and held it out to the new acquaintance and said, "You can familiarize yourself with the document, where there is not a single stamp that I used to have the status of a married man." Adriana looked at the passport with interest, and then asked the interlocutor in surprise why he was not married. And then, without waiting for an answer, she said, "You don't have to answer that, as I have already guessed why you have never been married. You are obviously of a different orientation." Sam, hearing the words "new acquaintance," laughed and only after a while answered that his person does not attract the male sex at all. And then he added that he liked mature women with whom he could talk about various topics. Adriana, after these words, already looked at the man more interested, which did not hide from Sam. Then the couple started talking about New York. Sam tried to compliment her as often as possible under a plausible pretext. The woman heard beautiful words from the new acquaintance and tried not to react to them. But Sam saw perfectly well that she was pleased with these compliments. It took about 2 hours for the couple to communicate with each other. During this time, Sam learned that the interlocutor lives in a 3-room apartment, has a dacha in the Moscow region and a car. The owner of the travel agency was married. But life did not go well, and she and her husband separated. There is a child, a son, who is currently studying abroad. Sam listened to all this information carefully, and he was satisfied that he had sat down with this woman. The man realized that Adriana, like no one else, was very suitable for the role of a wife. And now Sam was thinking how to charm this lady even more. Meanwhile, the woman called the waiter and asked him to bring the bill. Sam realized that now the new acquaintance would pay and leave, and this was not in the plans of the man. That's why he said, "And you just like that you will leave now. I was hoping we could still have a good time and talk. I would suggest you to come to my place, but you realize that I will not surprise you there, because it is a rented room where there is only one bed and a desk with 2 chairs. Are you asking me to visit? Are you in no hurry with your socializing? I thought we were modern people, and you obviously liked me. Why deny yourself the pleasure if we both don't want to part? I can't argue with you. Okay, let's go to my place, but we'll get some champagne on the way." Soon the couple left the restaurant, and the woman hailed a cab. Sam was surprised to ask why she did not drive her own car. Adriana said with a smile that if she goes to a restaurant for dinner, she allows herself not to drink a strong cocktail. And if she does it, she does not get behind the wheel of a car in an inebriated state. Sam listened to the interlocutor and said, "And you are not only a beautiful woman, but also wise. You will be lucky to have a man who can capture your heart. Today you have showered me with compliments from head to toe. That's how you should be complimented. You are a worthy woman, to whom I want to say only beautiful words," quietly said the man, and in one movement attracted the new acquaintance to himself. And then Sam embraced the woman and kissed her passionately on the lips. That night, the man spent at Adriana's place. Early in the morning, Sam got up, while his partner was still asleep, and went to the kitchen. The man wanted to make coffee and so opened one of the cupboards as from behind he heard the voice of the landlady of the apartment, who said, "And you're looking for something to eat. You don't hide jewelry and money in the kitchen. And you might have thought that about me," the man said glumly and turned to the woman. He came close to Adriana and said, "I wanted to brew the most beautiful lady a fragrant drink and serve it in bed. But I don't know where to find a pot and coffee. I like your coffee idea," the woman said with a smile and reached up to Sam's face to kiss him. The man at the same moment embraced his partner and nestled his lips on hers, and then abruptly pulled away and mumbled, "I don't think we need coffee now. We need to continue the night's fun. Well, go to bed." After a while, Sam was lying on his back and breathing heavily. Adriana sat next to him and ran her finger over the man's face. The woman looked at the guest and thought about something. Sam hugged the landlady and said that it was time for him to look for a job. Adriana grinned and said that today was Sunday and it was unlikely to find a job on that day. Then the woman offered the man a few days to get settled in New York. The man gladly accepted. 2 weeks had passed since Sam had met Adriana. All this time he was staying with her. The man complimented the woman every day when she arrived after work, always made sure to cook delicious meals. And Adriana loved it. It seemed to her that the man really loved her. And so one day she struck up a conversation. "I know you're looking for a job, but you're getting a lot of bad ones. Maybe let me talk to my cousin, and he'll come up with something decent for you. You don't have to talk to anybody. I'm a man, and I have to take care of myself. If I don't find one in 2 weeks, I'll go to my homeland." "Are you saying you'll leave me?" "I thought so," the man said disappointedly. "Who told you I'm quitting? I'll work shifts. I'll live with you 1 month and work the next. I'd ask you to marry me. But you'd refuse to marry an unemployed man. And you first offer, and then already think," the woman said slyly. Sam mentally rejoiced because that's what he wanted. The man knelt down on one knee in front of the landlady and quietly made her a marriage proposal. Adriana hugged the head of her lover and happily mumbled that she agreed to become his spouse, and immediately added that they would go to the registry office tomorrow. Sam didn't argue. He asked only one thing. "Let's not organize a lavish celebration. Let's just sign everything and that's it. We're not 18 years old enough to have a big party." "If you say so. But I have a little condition that you let me talk to my cousin about the job. You know it's not gonna work if you just sit at home and do nothing. We'll talk about it later." Soon the couple filed a registry office application. Sam knew he was getting married. He hid it from his parents as well as his sister. He thought that it could be announced after a while. The man himself did not realize why he made such a decision. And soon the couple signed. They celebrated the ceremony in the same restaurant where they met. Adriana sat and admired the white gold wedding ring. Across from her sat her already legal husband, who leisurely sipped champagne from a glass, looking at his wife. It had been a week since Sam had married Adriana, and then the man received a phone call from his sister, tearfully and through sobs, informing him that her daughter had gotten worse. An operation was required as soon as possible. Sam asked Nancy to calm down and said the money would be there within a few days. Mail. After his sister's call, he paced nervously around the apartment, thinking about how to ask Adriana for money. Sam did not know how his spouse would react to his request to borrow money. And when the wife came home, the man asked her to sit down to talk. Adriana saw that her husband was worried about something, so she patted him on the arm and spoke softly. "You don't have a face on you. Tell me what's wrong." "My sister needs money and a lot of it." "How much and for what purpose?" Sam said the amount and then told him about his niece. Adriana listened attentively to her husband, and when her husband was silent, she sat silently for a while and looked at the floor. At that moment, the man sat with his hands clenched in a fist and waited for his wife's decision. Adriana, after some thought, said that the sum was very large and she could not give it so easily. Then the woman added that she had not lived with Sam long enough to trust him with everything. The man did not like the words of his wife, and he nervously said, "Will you help me or not? If you write a receipt that my sister will give me these finances within a certain time. But I can't give you a receipt instead of my sister," the man said in a perplexed tone. "Then we are obliged not to give the money to your wife. I realize it sounds absurd, but you also understand me correctly. We have not had time to get together. How do you need a certain amount of money? What if in a couple of weeks you come and divorce me? If you want to take offense, this is the only way I'm gonna give you the money. You write a receipt that's notarized. I didn't expect that from you. Okay, I agree to your terms, but then let your brother find me a job and high-paying," the man said. He immediately called his sister and told Nancy that tomorrow he would transfer the required amount of money to her in the evening. The next day, Sam and his wife visited a notary. The man wrote a receipt and then received the money, which he immediately transferred to his sister. Nancy, as soon as she received the money, then called her brother and wondered where he got so much Sam. He hastened to reassure his sister and told her that he had been approved for a loan from the bank. Nancy thanked her brother and said that she and her husband would pay back the debt whenever possible. Sam chimed in response. "Let me go on about this nonsense. You don't have to give me anything. I gave the money gratuitously. The most important thing now is for my niece to get well as soon as possible." A month passed after Sam transferred the money to his sister. During this time, Nancy and her daughter had an operation in St. Petersburg, and the girl was on the mend. Adriana introduced her husband to her cousin Mark. The man was the director of a furniture factory. Sam immediately approached his new relative with a request to get him a job. Mark Markovich answered, "I'll take you to my factory. I'll give you the position of a small supervisor. But in fact, you won't have to do anything. In principle, you will be introduced to all the subtleties. Your companion. Let's just say that you'll only work your ass off and get paid for it. If you want to go deeper into the labor activity and promote yourself, then you'll have to take more responsibility and learn a few things. What do you think of my offer? I'm in. I'm tired of sitting at home and staring at the TV all day long. It'll give me some variety in my life." Soon Sam went to work, and in fact, the man was explained his duties, told what he had to do. Sam was well aware that the position was a fictitious one, and in fact, he did not have to do anything. After the first day of work, the man called his wife and asked her for a festive dinner. Adriana readily agreed and suggested celebrating the first day of work in a restaurant. Sam gladly agreed. And now the couple is sitting in the restaurant and having dinner. Sam enthusiastically tells how the first day of work went. The woman listens to her husband and thinks how good it is that Mark helped her husband with his work. It had been a month since Sam had gotten a job. The man felt as if life was passing him by. He was bored with his life. He didn't want to go home because he didn't want to see his wife's face. After all, he understood perfectly well what he had married this woman for. Work also did not bring joy. and the man went to the furniture factory only for a tick and often left work, not waiting for the end of the working day. And so Sam decided to leave the factory early to go for a walk in New York. The man packed up and left the factory. He walked down the street and looked at passers-by. And then his attention was attracted by a girl who was standing and feeding birds with a mug of bread. The man approached the stranger and politely inquired, "Can I keep you company?" The girl looked at the man and smiled coquettishly at him. And then she handed Sam a piece of bread and offered to help her in this business. In a few minutes, the couple were talking animatedly about the girl. The man learned that her name is Lola. She is 24 years old and works as a nurse in a hospital. She lives with her mom in a 2-room apartment. After the couple ran out of bread, the man suggested that the girl go to a cafe and continue the conversation. Lola did not refuse, and soon they were already sitting in the institution and drinking coffee. The man looked at the interlocutor and imagined how with her he could have fun in bed. The girl, as if reading his thoughts, said, "Probably, anticipating that very soon you and I will make love." "How did you guess that?" Sam said, perplexed. "Yes, I could tell from the look in your eyes. You're undressing me with your gaze in the cafe, so I want you so much if you understood everything from my look. Then offer me a place and let's go. Why waste precious time if our desires coincide?" The man laughed and then asked the girl to wait for him, and he quickly left the cafe. Sam hurried to the kiosk where they sold the press. He bought a newspaper. He found an ad for an apartment for rent and quickly called it. The man agreed with the landlady on his cell phone and then returned to Lola. And soon the couple was already at the rented apartment, where they made love. It took about 3 hours before the man lay on his back in satisfaction. He felt good with this girl, who did not ask unnecessary questions. At this moment, he imagined that very soon he would have to get dressed and return home to his hated wife. And at the same moment, the phone rang. It was his wife, who capriciously mumbled, "Where the hell are you? The working day is long over, and you are not home yet? Don't worry, darling, I just decided to take a walk today. I'm going home to warm up dinner." After these words, the man turned to Lola and asked the girl if she liked everything. The young woman replied with a nod and immediately asked if they would meet again. Sam kissed his partner with a passionate kiss on the lips and replied that they would definitely see each other more than once. And then the man asked Lola to dictate his phone number. The girl complied with Sam's request, and after that the couple parted. Soon the man came home, where a disgruntled Adriana was waiting for him. The woman, not hiding her bad mood, asked Sam next time he wanted to go for a walk to put her on notice. The man shrugged in response and only asked, "I will be fed in this house." After meeting Lola a few days passed, Sam again wanted to meet the girl. He called her, made an appointment, and as before, the couple again rented a 1-room apartment where they had fun. And then the man, as always, promised the girl that this meeting would not be the last. And after that, he gave the young woman a gold chain, which he had bought especially for her. A month flew by as Sam secretly met with Lola. He enjoyed seeing this girl. He enjoyed giving the young woman inexpensive gifts, which she gladly accepted. Sometimes Sam even wondered whether he would be able to start a family with Lola. However, he did not ask the girl a direct question. And so Sam wanted to see Lola again. The man, as always, called the young woman and scheduled a date at a rented apartment. Sam had left work on his lunch break that day. He wanted to spend as much time as possible with the girl today. Before the date, the man stopped by the store and bought Lola expensive perfume. And already soon Sam was in the nude in bed with a young woman. Suddenly the phone rang. The man, without looking, pressed the answer button. And hearing the greeting of his wife, quickly replied, "I'm not comfortable talking, I'm in a meeting. I'll call you back later." And only the man wanted to disconnect the cell phone as he heard the angry speech of his wife. "At the meeting, you say? Isn't that brunette you're reading the report now?" Rose eyes. "I'm calling you via video link. Okay, honey, we're gonna have a short conversation. And not over the phone, but in person. I'll meet you at home immediately." The man looked at the screen of the phone perplexed. He was cursing himself for not looking at the cell phone when he turned it on. In the meantime, Lola got up and started to get dressed. Sam was now looking at the girl, who was almost dressed. The man called out to the young woman and suggested that they stay a little longer to talk. Lola glanced at her partner. She sat down next to him, asking him, "What do you want to tell me? You understand everything perfectly well. The wife is now obviously going to ask for a divorce, and I want to ask you if you want to marry me." "No, I was just seeing you for fun. I don't plan on getting married. At least not at the moment." "Do you mean to say that you have no feelings for me, and you are writing from a girl's answer?" the interlocutor said, surprised. "If you mean love, then I can say that I do not love you. I just feel good with you in bed. I like it when you give gifts, and that's all that keeps us together. In that case, it was the last time we'd see each other. I thought you loved me. Okay, go on, go, and I won't detain you any longer." As soon as the girl left the apartment, the man put his hands around his head and thought. He understood perfectly well that now a rather unpleasant conversation was waiting for him at home. Sam felt that he was in prostration. On the one hand, he was glad that everything had happened this way. After all, now he did not have to pretend to be a man in love with his own wife. But on the other hand, now meant that going to restaurants, trips to the racetrack, as well as visiting theaters, all this stops. The man sighed sorrowfully. After these reflections, he quickly gathered himself and then hurried home, where his angry spouse was waiting for him. And as soon as Sam entered the apartment, he saw that in the hallway there was a bag, and next to it a small package. The man passed into the living room, where the spouse was sitting in an armchair. The woman gestured to the second chair. Sam sat down and looked at his spouse, and the woman coldly said, "You are an excellent lover. Nothing can be said here, but that's your value. You do not need to explain popularly that after your treason, I'm not going to live with you. And I didn't find myself in a dumpster to be treated like that, and especially you, who's a real pauper. I'll file for divorce. You don't have to worry about that, do you? You'll have the state tax deducted from your paycheck, although you can't expect to get a paycheck. I hope you haven't forgotten that I have a receipt in which you agree to pay me the money. From now on, you are no longer my husband, but only a man who owes me money. And one more thing. You no longer work for my cousin. He'll fire you for cause. That's a little favor from me to you. Now you're free to go on your way, rolling around in bed." The man stood up. He wanted to answer the woman rudely, but he forced himself not to say any nasty words. Sam looked at the landlady and then put his hand in his jacket pocket and wanted to go to the exit. But then his palm fumbled for a small box. The man took out the object and was surprised to notice that it was perfume, which he intended to give and forgot. Sam turned to his wife and handed her the box and said, "It's been a long time since I gave you a gift. Let this perfume be a parting gift from me. I beg you, do not hold a grudge against me. I wish you in the future to meet a worthy man who will love you with all his heart and never hurt. Don't worry about the money. If I owe you, I will give it to you. I will warn you right away that perhaps the next payment can be a little delayed, because I will still have to find a job. After all, you said yourself that I'm not working for Mark anymore. Now I'm leaving and I wish you happiness." Sam picked up his bag and left the apartment, never to come back here again. He walked for a while and then turned into a public garden, where he sat down on a bench and thought about what he should do next. Sam did not want to stay in New York, as he realized that it was a really expensive city. The man pondered for a while as his sister called him. Sam picked up the phone and greeted Nancy, and she quickly spoke to Sam. "Come to the village at once. Mom had a heart attack. She has been taken to the district hospital. How is she doing? What do the doctors say? We won't know until tomorrow." "What kind of day is this?" "Only trouble," the man said glumly, and immediately added that he was going to the train station to buy a ticket for the nearest flight. The man only wanted to disconnect the connection when Nancy spoke again. "What happened there?" "What kind of trouble?" "I'm fine." Without thinking, I said, and after these words, I immediately disconnected the connection. Sam now realized that as soon as he appeared at home, his sister would not give up on him until she knew the whole truth. A day later, Sam was already in the village. He learned from Nancy that his mother was better and could be visited. The man went to see his mother. The very next day after his arrival, Sam bought some fruit and soon went to the hospital. He came to the post where a small girl was sitting and writing something in a journal. The man walked to get her attention, and then he heard from the nurse. "You don't want to spread infection around here. If there's anything you want to ask me, I'm listening. And I'm not used to talking to a man who's busy doing something else. Why don't you at least look at me? Man, what do you want?" "Talk fast, because I have a lot of things to do," the girl said and looked at the visitor point blank. Sam looked at the nurse and immediately mentally thought it is necessary to be born so scary. But aloud, the man said that he wanted to visit his mother, and he needed to know the room number. The girl, having heard Sam's surname, immediately told him in which ward the elderly woman was lying. The visitor thanked the medic and went further down the corridor. Sam stayed with his mother for about an hour and then left the ward. The man was walking towards the exit when the same nurse he had seen at the post came out to meet him. Sam thought again how unlucky this girl was with her looks, and then he noticed that she was limping on her right leg. The man mentally and thought that such things happen in life. Not only that this girl was born, not pretty, but also the Lord awarded her with a limp. Soon Sam came to the village. His sister immediately came to him and began to ask about the trouble he had in New York. The man refused for a long time, but Nancy was adamant and demanded to tell her everything. Sam couldn't stand it and said in his heart, "You are a pain in the ass, my sister, as only your husband tolerates you. If my niece will go to you in character, then definitely can communicate with you will be only on the phone and only 10 minutes. Don't leave. Tell me what happened. After all, know that I will not leave until I know the truth." Sam sighed sorrowfully and told his sister about his marriage and where he got the money for Kelly's surgery. The man also informed her of his infidelity. Nancy listened to all this news with her eyes wide open. And as soon as her brother fell silent, she slammed her fist into his chest and spoke angrily. "You married this Adriana just to get money out of her. How could you do that? In fact, you promised me that you wouldn't get your finances that way. How could you even keep this from me? Stop raging. It's all in the past. I'm gonna live here with you guys now. I don't know if we're all living together though. Of course we will. When you get a job, we'll all work together to pay off that debt to your ex-wife. All that matters now is that Mom gets better." "You're right about that, Nancy." Sam's mom was in the hospital for 10 days. The man visited the old woman every other day and often met a nurse who was still limping. When Sam saw the girl, he always saw her as an angry nurse. The man himself did not understand why he thought so about her. And before the mother was discharged, he asked her a question. "There's a nurse who works here who has a limp. I think she's angry because it's written all over her face. You shouldn't say she's mean. She's a kind soul. She will find for each patient affectionate words, and no stranger to help nurse to change diapers, seriously ill people. And also when she has a night shift, and she reads books to us. I didn't expect you to praise her so much." After the man's mother was discharged, Sam went to the city and got a job at a factory in a specialty. He decided that he would live his life as he could and no longer looked for rich women. Sam no longer dreamed of a life where he could go to expensive restaurants and drive a cool foreign car. 2 months passed as the man worked at the factory, and one day he was returning home to his rented apartment. After a day of labor, as he noticed a girl who was limping, she took a couple of steps and suddenly fell on the path, which was covered with ice. And at the same moment, 2 guys laughed nearby, and one of them said not only that it was scary, and how the earth bears such persons. Sam was well aware that this phrase was heard by the girl. The man immediately jumped up to the guys and asked them to apologize to the girl. The young men wanted to answer the glory rudely at first, but seeing his angry look, quietly said that they apologize. And after these words, the boys hurried away. Meanwhile, Sam gave his hand to the girl and asked her softly, "Are you not mistaken?" "No, but you shouldn't have stood up for me like that. I'm used to such words long ago." And then the girl looked at her savior and said in surprise, "I know you. You visited your mother in the hospital. I wonder if you memorize all the visitors as you do me. If I'm not mistaken, your name is Helen." "No mistake. Not all the visitors. It's just that you look like a subject." "Well, I won't keep you. I should get home." Why are you running away from me so fast? Let me walk you out so you don't run into guys like that. You gotta be kidding me. Thanks for your help, but you don't have to walk me home. I'd just like to talk to you, but I can see you're being belligerent toward me. All because you think I'm cute. What's the resonance? But it turns out being beautiful isn't always a good thing in life. So what are we gonna talk about? I'll find things to talk about. The man said happily. He didn't know, but he really wanted to talk to this girl. The couple walked down the street for a while and talked peacefully. Sam mostly told about his childhood, how he used to joke about his sister. Helen listened to him. I laughed heartily. Soon the young people approached the house, and the girl announced that they were there. The man sighed disappointedly and immediately offered the new acquaintance another walk. However, the girl refused, saying that she had more important things to do. Sam once again sighed disappointedly and said, well, at least give me your phone number to call you and invite you for a walk. I have a free day, will be on Thursday. We'll call in the morning and talk about it. And soon the girl left, and the man still stood for some time and thought a new acquaintance. Sam was at this time ready to do anything, only if Helen would be with him a little longer. The man glanced at the house and then turned and went to his room. A few days passed, and it was Thursday. Sam dialed Helen's number on his lunch hour and greeted the girl and then asked her if she would be willing to go out with him today. The girl said yes and told him where to come over and what time. Sam walked to the date, visibly nervous. The man came to the meeting as much as half an hour before the appointed time. He stood and moved from foot to foot, looking for Helen. And soon Sam saw the limping girl. He hurried to meet her, and as soon as he was near her, he took out a small bouquet of flowers from his pocket and handed it to Helen. The girl embarrassedly said, we'll freeze them now. It's not the month of May. I suggest that we go to the cafe and warm ourselves, and we will not let the flowers die. It's a waste of money. I don't think you're a millionaire's son to spend money left and right. Let's go to my place. Grandma will enjoy the company of a handsome man. That's the thing. But let's stop by the store so I can at least buy a cake, because it's uncomfortable to go empty-handed. You'll be holding flowers, so present them to my grandmother. But I gave you the bouquet. Again, an inconsistency. It comes out, said Sam embarrassedly. The girl laughed in response and said that if they continued to argue, she would change her mind about taking the man to her house. After these words of Alina, the interlocutor raised his hands above his head and said that he was giving up. The couple soon continued on their way. Sam asked the interlocutor to tell about herself. Helen looked at the man and said that she was 24 years old and lived with her grandmother. She also said that last year she entered the medical school on a correspondence course. The girl said that in the future she dreams of becoming a doctor orthopedist. Helen did not tell anything about her father, and about her mother said that she lives in another city. Soon the man was already sitting at the girl's house and talking nicely with the elderly woman. And Helen was setting the table to treat the guest with tea and cakes that the grandmother had baked today. Nickel. After that, Sam began to call the girl often, as well as to visit her. The man felt that he was incredibly attracted to Helen. He wanted to protect her and see her as often as possible. Nickel saw that the man liked her granddaughter. And once, when Sam came to visit, and the girl was not at home at that moment, the old woman turned to him. Are you serious about hitting on my granddaughter, or do you want to stroke your ego? There are plenty of available girls for that. And if we are having a serious conversation right now, I can tell you that Helen and I have fallen in love. I've never had feelings like this before. And would you believe me, I've been with a lot of women. If you're in love, why did you ask her to marry you? You know, I think I might do that tonight. When Helen gets here, I'll tell her about it. But I'll tell you right away, I'm not going to give you the Goldilocks. You know all about me, but will she agree to marry me? Well, you ask her now. Helen just got home. Idea groom, meet your beloved. Sam happily nodded to the older woman and followed her into the hallway. The couple chatted privately for a while, and then the young people made their way into the hall. Nickel looked at her granddaughter and realized that the girl had accepted the man's proposal. The old lady smiled at the couple and proposed to celebrate the engagement. After these words of the old woman, everyone in the room laughed. Soon the trio sat down at the table. Helen poured tea for everyone and put a vase with jam and dried fruit on the table. The girl watched with delight as the chosen one took a few sips and looked at her. And then he looked at Nicole and softly said, "My future spouse is the most beautiful in this world. And if anyone wants to dispute that, they'll have to deal with my fist. Your future wife is not only beautiful, she's also rich. I know I didn't tell you that, Helen, and I was right to. But there's no point in keeping it a secret now. Her mom lives abroad and has a business there. She offered her daughter to move in with her, but Anishka refused. She said she wanted to do everything on her own, which in fact she does. However, her mother transfers her money every month, which has been accumulating for years, and now there is a very decent amount. You'll have enough for a wedding and a trip, and even to start your own business if you want." After these words, Sam stood up, walked over to Helen, hugged her tenderly, and said to Nicole, "To hell with money. Money isn't what makes you happy. I found my diamond in Helen, and I don't need anything else, but only in the future. A couple of screaming kids to call us daddy and mommy,